Hello, my lovelies, and welcome back to another weekly Pick a Card video. Today's topic is going to delve a little bit deeper into your psychology, which is what we enjoy doing here on this channel, getting to know more about ourselves, kind of through these mini tarot therapy sessions. So today we're going to talk about nature versus nurture. And for those of you who have ever taken a psychology course in college, or maybe it was even talked about in high school. I don't really remember. I know that I took a sociology or psychology course when I was in junior college, and we delved into this topic, and I found it so interesting, but it made sense. All of us are comprised of our nature, like our natural makeup as an individual, what we inherited through our genetic code, our ancestral line, and our nurture, which is what sort of environment we were raised in, what sort of external influences made us who we are. So we're kind of a combination of the two. And so that's why, like, if you are an adopted child, maybe when you meet your biological parents in your future, you're going to notice that there does seem to be some characteristics that you share with them, more than just physical, personality or mannerisms, perhaps, interests, that clearly have nothing to do with the nurture because you grew up with a different family, but instead have to do with your nature. Yet there will be certain grand differences you have with your biological parents because of the nurturing you received through your adoptive parents. So in today's reading, we're going to separate what parts of you are inherent to your nature versus part of your nurturing, part of the external things in your environment, how you were raised, the influence of your parents that shaped you as an individual. And Spirit's going to talk to you about perhaps some things in your nature that have been hidden because of your nurture, the environment you were raised in, and vice versa, and help you kind of break this down and get to know yourself on a more profound level and separate these parts of your identity and really just understand why you are who you are, what things you've forgotten or left behind that Spirit wants you to reclaim, and what maybe psychological patterns or habits Spirit wants you to rethink or heal or work through, because they're not really a part of who you are. They're just a part of the environment that you were raised in, and maybe they don't serve you. So we'll get into that today. Let's take a look at the piles that we have to choose from. As always, kind of quiet your mind and figure out which pile is really calling to you. Which one do you feel pulled towards? If there's more than one, you're welcome to listen to both, or as many as call to you. And then timestamps for everything will be down below. So I will see you there. Love you. Hey, pile one, welcome to your reading. It is quite windy outside. My window is whistling a song to me as we speak. I don't think it'll pick up on the mic because the mic tends to prevent that type of stuff from coming through, thank goodness. But if you can't hear that, I do apologize. So funny, last week we had the landscapers, which I don't think you guys heard, right? And now this week we've got this crazy wind that's been blowing since yesterday evening. But anyways, we will work through it. So let's take a deep dive into your psyche and find out which parts of your personality are inherent to your nature and which parts of you have been developed through your nurture, how you were raised. Okay, let's take a roll of the die first. Okay, we have Neptune in Pisces in the 5th house. Now, Neptune actually rules Pisces. It's one of the co-rulers, so that feels like a really nice synergy of energy here. The 5th house is all about our children, our inner child, our playtime, our fun, our personal creations. Yeah, it's a house typically ruled by Leo, so creativity and shine and self-expression and risk and all those sorts of things. Neptune and Pisces are both very dreamy sorts of energies from the zodiac, also quite artistic and creative as well. So we've got a double dose of that here. So I feel that at your core, you are inherently very spiritual and creative, almost like you are in the deepest depths of your creativity when you are engaging in something spiritual. And I don't just mean like through prayer or worshiping God, more of like emotions. You know, whenever you're experiencing very strong emotions, I think your creativity comes out of you at its best during those times, as well as when you are kind of like relinquishing yourself, not even thinking so much about yourself, but like tapping into the collective, you know, getting into the mind and the energy of, I don't know, consciousness, okay? Kind of sounds out there, I know, but these things feel very much a part of like your soul's energy. So now one thing with Neptune and Pisces is they are boundaryless, okay? They don't really separate walls and boundaries and dividers between themselves and the other energies. That's kind of, you know, that can be Pisces' downfall. When I hear the term empath thrown around, it often makes me think of Pisces because it's known to when it's unhealthy, to be incapable of kind of putting up walls and fences and boundary lines for itself. So other people and other people's energies and other people's pain and traumas and issues can very easily kind of soil or stain, you know, that Pisces Neptunian person. Okay. So it feels like this almost feels like a temptation for you, okay, is what Spirit's wanting to say. There is almost, have you ever heard of, what's that phrase, like romantic, there's certain artists or even people in general that romanticize things like death and pain and darkness, you know? Spirit's wanting you to be able to separate your creative life from your reality. The creative life, what I'm hearing is that it needs to be purely spiritual, which means not in physical form. These are things you can go off and experience in terms of, you know, what you are mentally thinking about, the emotions you're dipping into without having to physically endure or experience it. I hope that makes sense, okay? Because a lot of you who came to this pile are true artists, true creatives, and this is kind of tripping you up a little bit. I think part of you feels like, well, no, the only way I can create, like I have to live my art, basically. I won't be able to create unless I am actually living and enduring these experiences that I'm wanting to put into art form, okay? So maybe, for example, you get very creative and write beautiful songs and poetry when you are in a toxic relationship. It makes me think of like Lana Del Rey, okay? So you want to create those things, but you feel like, okay, well, I've got to keep engaging in these sorts of toxic relationships because even though it's painful, it's where my most beautiful art and creations develop from, okay? What I'm hearing from Spirit is, look, you are inherently creative. It is like deep, deep down into your bones, the core of your being. You do not have to pull this energy into your physical 3D reality in order to produce something from it, in order to find inspiration and muse, okay? So I know that seems off topic. We'll see how Spirit ties that into everything else, but that's an important message for you artists and creatives and even the highly spiritual people that came to this pile. Spirit's talking about kind of what you are doing for, well, not just for a living, for a lot of you, yes, but even just who you engage with in your day-to-day life, how you structure it. It seems to be sourced around, you know, I want to make sure I'm always inspired and I have inspiration and I have these muses and these things that I kind of romanticize and pull from and turn darkness into beauty. And it's therapeutic for you. I can definitely see that. But it can also be damaging if not managed correctly, okay? And the reason you're not managing it is because of this deep down belief that, well, I'm not actually creative. I have to kind of force myself into creativity through these difficult experiences. And Spirit's like, no, you don't. No, you don't. You are extremely creative, highly spiritual, and you don't actually need to do that. So time to set up some boundaries. But let's get into the rest of the reading. Let's look at the card topper you all gravitated towards, which is the Native American Indian. I'm pretty sure he's come out every time I have used this deck for a reading. So let's see what it says on the back. All right, it says precision. The desire to do things precisely is useful as long as it does not devolve into rigidity, okay? That kind of aligns with what we were talking about career-wise. For you, this sort of precision that you have, like, no, it has to be done this way, I've got to do it just this way, it is because of a lack of belief in yourself. Almost, some of you may actually suffer from some form of OCD, for example. I'm not diagnosing anyone, I'm talking about those of you who have already been diagnosed. And I say that because people who suffer from OCD, a lot of the times they will get into this rigidity with their everyday lives because of a fear that, well, something bad's going to happen if I don't, if I don't wash my hands exactly 3 times every time I use the bathroom, then something bad could happen. Okay, things aren't going to work out if I don't do that. All right. And then, it's like all their little habits and requirements end up kind of trapping them, making their life quite rigid, right? Okay, that's what I kind of see that you are doing with yourself. A lot of you, it feels like your shadow side is very Virgo-like. I actually did a reading last week on the shadow self that I would recommend you watch after this video because I think it will be helpful for you. Because I feel like this shadow aspect to yourself is what was created through nurture, okay? Because the nature of yourself feels very free and creative and sort of limitless and majestic and mystical and just beautiful. But then there's this shadow side that's like, no, we've got to endure it this way. We've got to do things like this. I don't trust myself to do things any other way than the way I'm doing right now. What if things don't work out if I make a change, right? Okay, so let's take a look at the tarot cards. Okay, we have Queen of Swords. This is air energy, so Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. Then we have 5 of Swords, more air energy. And then we have Ace of Pentacles. Now these first 3 cards represent your nature. Let's look at the bottom 3, which represent nurture. All right, we have the Tower. Look at that explosion. Then we have the Magician. Beautiful. That's Mercury energy, so Virgo and Gemini. And then we have Knight of Swords. Okay, you guys, we've got a lot of air energy here. A lot. Okay, so I can see in the top 3 cards, which is your nature, that with all that air energy up there, you are a very precise individual. But it's interesting because this precision goes on much more internally than externally, okay? I don't know, it's like your habits, the way that you speak and communicate and make decisions, it's all done in a very sort of repetitive way. It's like this, kind of like this little hamster wheel, and it keeps circling over and over and over. And it's not because of what life is doing to you necessarily. It's because that's the way you impose yourself on the world. You like that rhythm. You like that beat. You like how, music is such a creative form of art. I guess everything is, right? But there's also this rigidity to it. It follows this certain beat. It creates a rhythm. There's a precision that's needed, right? That feels like you. So in your nature, you are inherently someone that is very particular about the way that they want things done, wants to do these creative endeavors, wants to be passionate about it's life. You want to be passionate about your life, but you want to do it in a logical fashion. You want to gather the data. You want to, inherent to your nature, you actually do naturally want to set boundaries, okay? I can see that with both of these cards. You want to set boundaries. You want to make decisions based on logic, not on emotion, all right? And maybe this part of you, which is inherent to your nature, is what gets you tripped up and thinking, no, I'm not a creative person. I'm not naturally creative, really got to push myself in order to be creative. And make sure that I can manifest things and make things happen, okay? It's this part of you, but the two aren't connected at all, is what I'm hearing from spirit, okay? You are someone who likes to set boundaries, discover the truth, get to the bottom of things, fight for what you want, doesn't shy away from a win-lose type of situation, is ready to go out into battle. Like you have a sense of bravery about you, really. That's part of your nature. And nurture kind of overtakes or can overtake nature. Between the ages of like 5 to 7, okay? So these are traits and qualities that you very easily expressed from the time you were a baby until you were around 5, 7, and then that nurturing started to take an effect on your personality and shape you, the environment that you were born into. But yeah, these are things that came very natural to you. In fact, I feel like your parents may have even, or whoever raised you, may have spoke about how rebellious or sassy or stubborn or rowdy you were as a very, very young child. And I feel like that's actually in contrast to what you grew into. Like you may hear those things and think, gosh, I don't know, maybe most people are very different, as children than they are as adults, because that's not really like me at all anymore. But yeah, that feels inherent to your nature. And then we have this Ace of Pentacles. This is about a focus on the physical, on the material realm, being grounded, being stable, wanting that physical and material security for yourself. Okay. Some of you, I'm hearing, actually, when you were really young, hoarded food. Okay, so maybe if like there was a treat or something in the house and you had other siblings and you didn't want to have to like, oh God, I'm going to wake up tomorrow, it's all going to be gone. I'm going to hide this like under my bed so that way I can eat it when I want to. Or maybe you would actually hide when you ate because you didn't want to deal with people asking like, hey, it's not dinner time, or hey, can I have some type of thing. That's that part of your nature, almost like a little squirrel, that's like gathering up nuts. Okay, you may have also been into collecting things, like having a little collection set up. Collections of things gave you this feeling of like physical, material security. It comforted you because that is part of your nature. In fact, I would even go as far to say that your spirit animal is very squirrel-like, okay? Because squirrels are very fast-paced, quick-moving. That's that air energy. But then they are also very concerned with their physical security, their material abundance, being grounded, okay? They can climb up high into the air, but only through a tree, which is rooted to the ground, right? That's you. That's your nature. Beautiful. Okay, let's get into the bottom row of cards and talk about the nurturing aspect. Okay, so we have the Tower, right? And then we have the Magician. This is powerful. Obviously, the Tower card, that's not a pleasant experience when you're going through it, and it's certainly not pleasant when you are too young to be going through it. So I see that all of you who chose this pile, you went through a very shocking, abrupt sort of change, or perhaps many, in your childhood, whether it was a move or a divorce or just chaos in the home. It almost feels like something was revealed, actually, that was like, wait, what? And you were just kind of mind blown. Maybe one of your parents was diagnosed with a terminal illness, but yeah, it was almost like this sort of very abrupt, shocking sort of thing that kind of turned you upside down. And I think that coupled with your nature, which has this air sign, mental, logical quality, like I see that your mind moves a lot. It's not slow paced at all. Although I do see that in your external environment, things may appear to be slow paced, okay? But internal, it's like buzzing all the time. This experience here in your childhood, which was part of your nurturing, put you into this very anxious mode of being. So perhaps you suffer with anxiety. Perhaps you predict a worst case scenario. Perhaps you don't easily trust in others or the universe, life in general. Perhaps you are a bit pessimistic. You don't have high hopes for anything. Maybe that's what it is. Like, I'm not really going to expect too much because then I'll be disappointed. So, okay, that is not part of your nature. That's not part of who you are at your core, which means that this can be worked through and you can rid yourself of those sorts of modes of thinking, okay? You were not born with some sort of gene that made you prone to anxiety or some sort of anxiety disorder. That's what I'm trying to say. So if that's something that you're suffering from, just know that's not part of your nature. That is a byproduct of your nurture and these earlier childhood experiences growing up, okay? That's not a part of you. You feel actually quite relaxed at a soul level. Your soul is relaxed. It's smart. It's highly intelligent. It's logical, but it's not stressed, okay? So there's a big difference there between the two that you can work through and start reminding yourself when these sort of illogical thoughts come up, like worst case scenario or overly pessimistic or not wanting to aim too high because come on, whoever reaches that star anyways, I'm going to aim a little lower. Remind yourself, look, nope, that's not me. That's my childhood experience talking to me. I reject this. I'm not allowing this to invade my space anymore. There's a difference between being smart and being stressed. Okay, the two they're not intertwined. Now, interesting is with this magician card, this is a very powerful card here. Magician is someone who realizes that they have everything they need at their own fingertips to do what it is they want to do, to manipulate their life or the situation in their favor. The magician doesn't have to rely on anybody else or anything else. The magician has everything they need right there on that table. So this aspect of you was created and born of this negative experience. So even though, it's like everything we go through in life, there's an opportunity for something positive to be gained and then something negative to be gained. The negative is the overly stressed, overly anxious, okay? But the positive is that you really came to realize that if you wanted something in your life, you were going to have to go out and get it. You could not sit back and rely on everyone else or promises from other people or anything like that. So you did step into your power through this and truly realize this experience also gave you an ability to connect with other aspects of reality, because I see that you're very creative, very airy and earthy, very materially focused, mentally focused, okay? But on the magician card, all the elements are here. So we have the sword, which represents the air, which you were born with. And then we have the pentacle, which represents the material, which you also were born with. But then there's also the cups, as well as the wands, okay? And those aren't inherent to your nature. The cups are emotions. The wands are passion, okay? Action, like that drive, that competitive energy. And yeah, the water is the emotions, emotional intelligence, empathy, depth, okay? Those sorts of things you were able to pull out of this tower moment experience in your life, okay? So that's a really positive thing that you gained through your nurture, your upbringing, even if it didn't feel like a positive experience. You gained like some wisdom that wasn't necessarily in your wheelhouse when you initially incarnated. And it helped you step into your power. It made you like a more well-rounded individual, okay? Because you already had the swords and the pentacles, but then this experience added the cups and the wands, and it's like now you just are very well cultured, well-rounded, wise, and empathetic to all aspects of life. And I think that was really key for you to get to the success you're meant to get to today. Okay, so definitely don't take that. In fact, try, and I know that this is hard to say, everyone's situation is different, but what I'm hearing from Spirit is to try and practice gratefulness for and recognition for the things that you did gain through those negative experiences in your life, all throughout life, in fact. We can pull something positive or find something beneficial in every negative experience, even if the only beneficial thing is, well, I'm now really able to empathize and understand other people who have gone through this. Sometimes that's the only thing. Sometimes what we went through is so awful, that that's the only thing, but it's something and it's true. Truly empathetic people are people who have been through some stuff, right? And then that empathy and that relatability helps you network and make newer connections and create from new places of emotion, okay? Navigate through life. You know how to protect yourself in the future because of something bad you went through. And maybe your own children have a better childhood because of what you went through, and you consciously being able to know that, okay, I know that by doing X, Y, and Z, we'll get this result. I don't want my kids to have that result, so I'm going to change it to, A, B, and D. Okay. So there's always something positive that you've gained: knowledge, wisdom. Spirit's wanting you to practice having that for your past, because that's also going to help with the healing process with this tower moment, in the nurturing aspect of yourself. Okay, then we have the Knight of Swords. Knight of Swords is very fast paced, okay, quick moving, the quickest moving knight in the tarot, actually. Although he's not on his horse here. That is the knight. Okay, he's got his sword, his shield. Very fast paced, quick moving. Sometimes he can move a little too quickly before he's gathered all the information he needs to gather, okay? He's kind of in fight or flight mode. So this was an aspect of yourself born of this, the nurturing, how you were raised, okay? And again, it leads back to this tower moment, this sort of abrupt, like, what the hell's going on? What did you just say to me? What's changing now? Okay, so it put in you this sort of need or desire to act very quickly. It's like, maybe if I act very quickly all the time, do things very fast paced and in a quick manner, I will catch everything before it falls, okay? Yeah. And Spirit's saying, it's time to slow the pace back down once again, okay? And I'm seeing this more in interpersonal relationships, romantic relationships. You have a hard time biting your tongue when an issue comes up. Maybe assumptions. I see that assumptions are made a little bit too quickly, okay? You're quick to assume, or you're quick to go on the defense. Instead of being able to calm yourself, relax, and pre-plan a good moment for that conversation, a good moment to open up, to be able to eliminate assumptions in your head until you have all the information, to realize that, you got a long life here. It's okay if a particular issue takes an extra day or two to work out, to be able to say, I'm going to hold off on confronting that this week because they're out of town. I will let them just have their vacation, and then once they get back, things will be calmer. I will have had a couple nights to sleep on it, think about what I want to say, gather my thoughts, and then we can talk in person. Whereas this Knight of Swords, maybe something came up with your partner, they're not aware, but you're upset, and they've gone on vacation to visit family. And this Knight of Swords is like, no, we're not waiting a week. I'm going to send them a bunch of texts right now at 3 a.m. and we're going to deal with that. And I'm not going to be able to go to sleep until I have answers. And then it makes everything a lot messier. Then your partner's like, why are you blowing up my phone at 3 in the morning? And you're assuming stuff that's not even true. Can this wait till I get back? Okay. So that part of you is part of this, part of your nurture, how you were raised, this tower moment that really affected you. So there was a lot of positive to be gained, right? But then there's some things that need to be healed to help you get back to who you are inherently at your core, in your nature, which is this very logical but brave individual, very intelligent, calm but focused, all right? Chill, relaxed, but focused, and extremely grounded and stable and good at setting boundaries, not just for other people, but for yourself. Like having a boundary that says, you know what? I'm making a promise to myself that from now on, when I am upset about something, I'm going to go to bed on it, sleep it off before I take any action. Okay? Say your boss or a coworker does something at work that just irks you, and you don't have all the facts or all the info, but from what you're thinking, you're pretty sure that, I don't know, maybe they stole a sale from you, for example. Instead of immediately getting on your computer to type up an email, and hash this out with your boss and that coworker, being like, you know what, this can wait till tomorrow. My emotions are really riled up right now. I want to make sure that I'm in my best mindset. I'm going to go to bed tonight. Tomorrow morning, I will decide what I'm going to do. It can wait 24 hours. All right. So setting those sorts of boundaries for yourself. or even boundaries for yourself of like, you know what, I told myself that I was only going to hang out with people who were a positive influence on my life. So I'm going to make myself say no to the next invite that I get. That's not the type of energy I'm engaging with anymore. It doesn't represent me. I've got to set that boundary. All right. So that's kind of what spirit wants you to work through to get back to who you are at your core, because that is who you are. You're naturally very good at these things. All right. Just been forgotten or covered up in all this other muck from your past and the way you were raised. But I will say that maybe there was a particular parent, or maybe it was your childhood in general, did raise you in such a way that you had a very healthy view and outlook on your own power as an individual when it comes to life. This idea that no one's going to save me but myself. If I want something, I'm going to have to do it. Like, I'm not going to be able to rely on other people or expect things. You don't feel entitled at all. That's the best way to put it. You are so not entitled. And I think that's such a blessing, especially in, today's culture. And, it's hard, well, depending on what country you're raised in. If you're raised in the United States, I can say for sure it's an epidemic, okay? But however you were raised, however you grew up, you don't have this sense of entitlement about you. And I really, really like that, okay? All right, let's look at the other cards. All right, we have Venus and Gemini. This says flattery. And then we have Moon in Aries, which says protection. So this is your nurture. That first one, Venus and Gemini, that is your nature. So at your core, you are someone who really, really enjoys good conversation. It looks like you're quite, open-minded. You know how you feel about things, but you're not, it's like you're so secure in your beliefs that you don't mind hearing other points of view. And you don't even mind if someone, ends up changing your mind. If what they say is convincing, like you're fine with that. So you're very flexible, very open-minded, and very charming, okay? And that's part of your nature, just how you were born. Then we have this Moon in Aries. It says protection, which is part of the way you were nurtured growing up, the way that you were raised. So it looks like there is a part of you that even though you're not entitled at all, it does tie in with this Magician card. There's a part of you that's like, I've got to look out for my own emotional well-being, okay? Because Aries can be termed a bit selfish at times, because it's kind of, it likes to do things solo, right? So Moon represents the influence of our mother, as well as our internal emotions, okay? So having this in Aries gives me the sense that the way you were raised, maybe the way your mother was, made you realize that, you know what? I'm the only one that's going to be looking out for my own emotions. I can't ask someone else to help me out emotionally. I've got to figure out how to do it on my own. Okay. I'm not going to ask my spouse, to cuddle me because I'm feeling icky today. I'm not going to ask my mom to scratch my back because I'm, feeling lonely and just want to, snuggle up with her. I'm not going to cry to other people. Like, through your nurturing, you develop this mindset of like, no, if I've got an emotional issue, I've got to figure it out on my own. I can't ask help of anybody. Now, what that does, when we have a view about something like that, and this goes with anything, we will get irritated or bothered by other people who don't respect that view or that belief. I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. But for example, it sounds like emotionally you are quite self-reliant, okay? You don't impose yourself on other people emotionally. If you're dealing with something, you figure it out on your own, right? Cry it out in your bed at night by yourself. You're not calling mom or calling dad or whining to your spouse about it. I'm talking about the vulnerable emotions, like I'm feeling insecure, I'm feeling scared, I need someone to hold me. I don't see you guys ever doing that. And that's the belief system you've adopted when it comes to those things. So when you are in a relationship and you have a partner who doesn't feel this way about their emotions, who's the type of person that when they are feeling vulnerable, they do want a hug from you. Maybe there's not a reason and there's not anything you need to fix. Maybe sometimes there's not even anything to talk about. They're just like, hey, babe, can I just hug you for a moment? Or can I tell you what I'm feeling inside? I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. All right. You are going to accidentally, without almost knee-jerk reaction, feel a little bit of contempt for that. Like, why are you not like, you shouldn't be talking about this stuff. Why can you not figure this out on your own, type of thing. And you could even be that way with your own kids. This may be a value that you instilled in them, that like, hey, if you've got to tough it up, if there's something that you are dealing with, unless it's a problem that you need me to fix, you seem like you'd be the type of parent that's like, if there's a problem you need me to fix, come and tell me. I will help find a solution. We will fix this. I'll call the principal if I have to. I will, but if it's just that you're telling me that you're feeling sad and want to cry, like, what do you want me to do about that? Why are you putting that on me? Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, just stop crying if you don't have a reason. Okay. So this comes from the way you were raised, and Spirit's wanting you to be very conscious of this, because although it is good to be self-reliant, it is bad to never allow yourself to truly be vulnerable with other people and to be disconnected from your emotions. Okay. It's good that, I mean, that's kind of why we have interpersonal relationships and people in our lives. We want to have someone, we've all got those low days, right? And it's not that we're entitled to someone giving us their time and attention, but if it's someone that we love unconditionally, sometimes we just want to sit next to someone. We want to hear someone tell us that we're beautiful and that we're a good person, because we're just feeling insecure for no reason at all. We want someone to tell us the world's not going to crash down, like, calm down, you're in an anxiety spiral, here, let me hold you, right? So that needs to be healed within you, okay? Because you may have had parents who were this way as well, and you don't want to continue that cycle. And whatever you create, okay, because I saw here in the die, whatever it is you're wanting to create, to do for a living, you are at your best when you are emotionally connected to what you are doing. And I feel like a lot of you have started things and then quit it, okay? And then you start something else and then you quit it. And this kind of flip-flopping or having a hard time figuring out, like, I don't even know what it is I want to do, has to do with you not being connected to your emotions, your vulnerability. Once you get back to who you are at your core and you root yourself back into your emotions, it's going to be very easy for you to determine what you are in love with doing, what doesn't suit you, what you're passionate about, what bores the crap out of you, okay? So that you can navigate through your life a little bit easier. All right, let's look at the last two cards. Oh, wow. Okay, we've got Gemini again. We also had Gemini in the nature section, Venus and Gemini, and then we've got Gemini here. And then we have a living in society card. So this top side, which is the positive side, this shows us your nature. The bottom side, which is more negative, shows us your nurture. So let's read the top first and see what phrase represents a part of you at your core and your nature. I can be strong and successful, and at the same time have colleagues and collaborators. There is enough abundance for everyone to survive and thrive. Makes me think of the Ace in Pentacles. So that is how you were born feeling about life, about society, okay? That you can be strong and successful, have colleagues, collaborators, that there's plenty of abundance for everybody. Okay, and then over time, throughout life, we've all been beaten down a bit, right? Through your nurturing, this is the new phrase that you had kind of adopted. We live in a jungle, only the strong survive. We live in a jungle, only the strong survive. And that does sound similar to what I was talking about with this magician energy. That through your childhood, however it was that you were nurtured, you realize this beautiful thing, which is, you know what, I've got to rely on myself. I've got to be, I can't be overly dependent on anyone to take care of my needs. Or, it's like I've got to grasp onto the tools around me. I've got to stop having wishful thinking. I've got to look at what do I have right now and be more practical and take action. Okay. So that's really positive. But on the negative side of it, a lot of that thinking was a reaction to this tower moment, which was like, oh shit, like, life's tough. I better buckle up and get to doing something. I better like just keep my eyes on the road because it's a jungle out here, right? And that pulls in this kind of competitive energy as well, where it's like you suddenly realize that there is competition out there, and some people are just better than others, and some are smarter than others, and some are more attractive than others, and only the winners survive. And what happened was, once you kind of realize that, which clearly this isn't true, okay? This is a negative phrase you are working to undo through spirit. Once you realize that, you shrunk yourself. because you looked around at the world and all these other great people in it, these successful people in it, and you thought, well, I'm not better than them. So I'll just stay in my own lane over here. I'm just going to stay in my corner because there's no way I could beat those people. There's no way. So you just kind of gave up on anything. It's like once you hear that, oh, there's an element of competition to it, it's like, no, I don't want to engage. Which is odd because at your core, in your nature, you are highly competitive. You know, you want to play that basketball game and score the most goals. And, you know, you want to beat those people in that race. You know, it feels so good. Like, yes, I won. But once you had adopted this idea that kind of everything in life is this big Darwin-like competition of sorts, that it wasn't just all fun and games, it was like, oh, I don't like that. I don't want to participate because I would never win. Okay, so it comes from a place of insecurity, and spirits wanting you to get back in touch with that childlike competitive energy that you had, and to remember that we don't live in a jungle. It's not only the strong that survive. Everything isn't a competition. Um, you know, there's enough abundance for everyone to survive and to thrive. All right, so you've got to get back into that mindset of abundance. That's going to be key for you as you work through your nature versus nurture. All right, and get back in touch with this beautiful, badass, highly creative, highly logical, action-oriented, intelligent Queen of Swords that is within you. Some of you could be Aquarius. I'm getting more like Aquarius and Gemini energy. It could be Libra as well, have that like sun, moon, or rising. But we've also got a little bit of Leo and Pisces energy here as well. Anyways, I would highly recommend you all listen to the shadow message video that I did last week. I think that would be really helpful for you, but I will leave you guys here. I want to thank you so much for coming. I hope that you feel closer to yourself. I hope you understand yourself a little better and allow yourself to heal and to love and to self-accept, okay? Because that's the whole goal for everything that we're doing here in this reading. So comment below if you'd like to share any details about your life story. I would love to know, and I look forward to seeing you in next week's Pick a Card reading. Bye, my love. Okay, pile two, welcome to your reading. I can't wait to take a look at which parts of you are inherent to your nature and which aspects of yourself were shaped by your nurturance, the environment that you were raised in, you know, the external reality that you were living in that influenced and shaped you. So let's start actually by taking a roll of the die, and then we'll look at the card topper you all gravitated towards. Okay, we have the North Node in Capricorn in the 6th house. Wow, powerful energy coming off the die. North Node is very potent, very obsessive, very like, I want to get out of the box. I want to get out of my comfort zone. I want to discover more about that over there. You know, I want to investigate that. I want to get familiar with that. Okay, it's a very sort of like seeking sort of energy. And Capricorn is very structured, very disciplined, very grounded, very focused on, I want to build something. And it's very focused on the material realm, the 3D, like things physically around it, the plants, the trees, the animals, the home space, things like holidays and one-on-one relationships, and you know, all these things that are like in the realm of our physical reality. Now, the opposite of that would be like our spiritual reality, which is about our prayers and our worship time and things like tarot and astrology and delving into your own psyche and manifestation, you know, like dreams and goals. And Capricorn likes to make things turn the spiritual aspects of our life, our dreams, our goals, you know, our wants and wishes into a physical reality. It's a very determined sign. In the 6th house, man, that is all about work and responsibility and being of service and running errands and doing favors and the health and the body and regimen and routine. And so this is like, you guys, this is really, really powerful. And this is inherent to your nature, okay? Your soul is so potent, so self-willed, so determined, so you're like a workhorse, okay? This is incredible, the energy that I'm feeling from the die. You at a soul level actually already feel that in previous lifetimes for all of you, you accomplished a hell of a lot. Okay, a lot of you are like CEOs to major businesses, or yeah, a lot of you really left your mark on the world in previous lifetimes through something that you did, and maybe you've had like 200 lifetimes, and I'm telling you, for all of you, at least in one of those many lifetimes that you've had previously, you left a mark on your community, or the society you were in, or the world at large. Okay, this is wise, wise, grounded energy. This is your soul, you guys. Like, I almost feel privileged to be taking a peek into your soul because of what I'm seeing here. Do you realize how incredible that is? I don't know if all of you if you guys are the type to underestimate yourself, or maybe you've gotten to a place in life where you feel quite stagnant and unable to grow, or you're doubting yourself. Please, if that's the case, please do not. You have no idea what I'm looking at right now. You guys are such a force to be reckoned with. Hopefully, you all feel that. I'll get a little deeper understanding of that as we get into the die, but you guys are, yeah, powerful, potent, incredible, motivated, smart people. All right, let's look at the card topper you all gravitated towards. Just looks like it's actually two different sceneries, right? This looks like Africa with the giraffes, and then we've got the wolf out here on the mountain. It does give me Capricorn vibes. This is about nature. Animals are very sort of Capricornian. They're very much they're focused on the 3D. The wolf isn't saying any prayers at night or pulling any tarot cards. The wolf's focused on his immediate surroundings. So nature is a very Capricornian sort of thing. I actually feel that all of you who gravitated towards this pile, it is very important for you all to engage with nature on a daily basis if you can. And maybe, the only thing possible for you is to like bring a little herb garden into the home, have a few pots with some herbs in them, have a bowl with a fish in it, a pet fish or a little pet, or set up a garden outside or go on a walk or something. It really, really, being outside, being in contact with the sun, the moon, the different seasons, it really, really helps get you back in touch with yourself. Okay, very important for this pile. All right, so make that a priority, because I see that you guys can get into a mode of just work, 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 no play, and forget to do those things for yourself. All right, on the back of the card it says free associate. Allow the first thing that comes into your mind without self-censorship to bestow a vision upon you. All right, let's practice that right now. This is about, it sounds like Spirit's trying to get you back in touch with the vision that you want for your life, because you guys are more than anyone capable of manifesting the visions that you see for yourself, okay? You don't realize, this is no joke, you guys. You guys are extremely powerful, okay? So let's get you back in touch with that vision. If you feel lost, you don't feel like you have a vision right now, let me read this again and do what it says on the card. In fact, leave it in the comments below. Allow the first thing that comes into your mind without self-censorship to bestow a vision upon you. Close your eyes for a second. What's the first thing that comes into your mind? And maybe it's not a vision of a certain company or a certain lifestyle. Maybe you're getting a symbol. Maybe it's a particular flower, a certain animal, a certain memory. Okay, remember that symbol and work through that. If it's an animal, go to Wikipedia, Google about how that animal's life works. What is that animal known for? How does its life function? What's its everyday reality? If it's a flower, look up what that flower stands for, symbolizes. If it's an herb, look at what that herb is good at healing. If it's a certain crystal, okay, work with that symbol. It's going to help you get back in touch with this vision that Spirit wants you to connect with for your life. All right, let's look through the top row of cards here, which represent your nature, and then we'll look at the bottom, which represent your nurture. Okay, the first one we have is Moon in Taurus. Beautiful. The moon is actually exalted in Taurus. It's the favorite place for the moon to be, is in Taurus. We have Six of Swords. So we've got some air energy. Nine of Pentacles. Yep, look at that, you little Capricorns. And 10 of Pentacles. Yes, legacy, abundance, money, like reaping the benefits of what you have sown, stable. Look at this legacy. This is generations of family. Where's the grandpa? There's always a grandpa in this card. We'll say it's him here with the dog. He has built such a legacy that his money is able to trickle down through his children and their children and their children. Like, that's true stability. Those of you who chose this pile, you need to work for yourself. You need to be an entrepreneur, okay? This is part of your nature. This is what drives your soul. Um, at the core of yourself, who you are very focused on material and physical abundance and in pleasure. It's almost like for you, the focus on that abundance and security isn't out of like a greediness, okay, or desperation. It's out of this desire to enjoy the abundance around you. You know, you feel very pleasure oriented at your core. You know, you were born kind of wanting to seek out pleasurable experiences. And our nature is what dominates us until around the age of like 5 to 7. And that's when our environment, how we were nurtured, really starts to take a grasp on our personality and make alterations and changes and influence us. So from before you were 7, you were kind of purely operating out of your nature, okay? And I see that you were a very pleasure-oriented child. You enjoyed good food. You liked enjoying the good weather outside of you, that was outside of your home. You liked, and you liked, like, you were a kid that like noticed certain textiles and fabrics. You wanted to have like a good blanket. Maybe you're one of those kids that complained like when your parents dressed you up in certain clothes because it's like it doesn't feel good on my skin. You're very pleasure oriented. That's part of who you are, and it affects actually your emotional well-being. I see here in this card when your senses are not being stimulated. And so this abundance, this desire to want to grow things comes from this pleasure-seeking place within you that wants to enjoy, that wants to relish, that wants to laugh and be fulfilled and play and all these sorts of things. Now, I also see at your core, you are extremely good in modes of crises. Okay, it's part of your nature. When shit goes down, can't think of a better way to phrase that. You at your nature are the type that wants to stand up and like, let's get over here for safety. We can leave, we can go over here. Let me do this, let me help out. You may have actually been born as an older sibling because of this, knowing that this is part of your nature, because spirit would have known that you could have protected and assisted the younger siblings if they were dealing with a bully at school or, something like that. So you have this sort of this leadership quality about you, I guess is the best way to put it. Part of your nature is this ability to command authority and to lead others. To decide the direction of things and this fearlessness in doing what needs to be done in those hectic, scary, chaotic moments that many people just kind of like. When I'm in those sorts of situations, my brain just kind of goes blank, in shock. I don't know what to do, okay? And then there's certain types of people that are perfect for those kind of situations. It's almost like their brain awakens when those things happen and they go into action mode. And that's part of your nature and of who you are. So I feel like it's going to be, I feel like you guys need a business, or you need to somehow be working for yourself. I feel like that's really, really going to help you feel fulfilled in your life. It's part of who you are, your core, your nature. Let's take a look at your nurture set of cards. All right, we have Mercury in Aries. It says restlessness. We have 8 of Cups, 8 of Wands, 2 8s here. 8 in numerology is ruled by the planet Saturn, which rules Capricorn. Interesting. And then we have 2 of Pentacles. All right. All right, so I'm seeing an inversion of these 2 cards. Notice how in both of these cards, people are running away from a situation, seeking safety, seeking to find fulfillment elsewhere, like escaping chaos or something that just doesn't feel satisfying, that's unhappy. This is your nature. This is how it changed through the way you were nurtured, the environment you were raised in, okay? So first of all, this is swords energy, this is cups. Swords are based on logic. Swords are emotionally detached. They want to look at the data and the information before they make a decision. And they also want to locate and discern any learning experiences, any facts that they've discovered. Okay, that's all sword energy. Cups are all emotions, okay? There's not logic with the cups. It's like, what what feels good, what feels right. Okay, big difference here. Okay, this man's escaping a situation because, and bringing his family with him because he's decided that, you know what, this is going to be the best option for my family. I'm the leader here. I'm going to bring them to safety. I've looked at all the data and information. This is, the best course of action to take. Whereas in the Eight of Cups card, which often represents relationships, there's someone running away alone in the night, possibly leaving a lot of relationships behind, not based on anything other than, I don't feel fulfilled by this anymore. I've got to give up. I'm moving on. All right. So at your core, in your nature, you're the type of person that wants to save others, that wants to be upfront and open about what it is you are thinking, that wants to talk things out, that wants to discuss things with other people, maybe that you're having issues with, right? But through the way you were nurtured, it's almost like you were taught not to open up as much, not to talk things out. Like maybe it's not worth talking it out. People don't ever listen anyways when there's an issue. People can't really be changed. What's the use of bringing that up? And so then you get to a point where your relationships feel so fractured and broken, so out of alignment with what you're wanting from them, that you abandon, you leave. You don't even open up space for an opportunity to reconcile or to adjust things, to explain your side in hopes of, could you start doing this for me, or I misunderstood this, or I want to talk this out. Okay, so it puts you in this running away sort of mode. In the way that you were nurtured, it's likely that, because you used to be very kind of out in the open and upfront with your thoughts, things that were bothering you. But, you may have had a set of parents that after so many times of doing that and being rejected, maybe every single time you went to your parent and said, look, mom or dad, whenever you guys do this, it really bugs me or makes me feel trapped. Or is there not another system that we can work out here? I don't like this particular rule. Why do we have to do things this way? I don't like it when you say this to me. Okay, maybe you tried that several times over the course of your childhood, and every single time you were met with, I don't want to understand you. What I say goes. The parent's always right. Stop talking so much. Stop asking questions. Just listen to what you're told. I'm not changing anything. If anything, you need to change. Okay. So after so many years of listening to that, what do you start to think? I mean, you start to think that, okay, talking it out isn't a good idea. People are just the way that they are. There's no use in trying to get them to understand me. I've just got to deal with them how they are. But no relationship can work that way. What ends up happening is maybe that other person feels very fulfilled. They think, oh, this relationship's perfect. They seem to like everything about me. And you're on, inside thinking, I'm about to just run away. I can't deal with, all the issues are mounting up inside of me. It's no use talking it out. I think I've just got to break it off. And this could happen also like in jobs, relationships with coworkers and bosses, where it's like you've shut down this part of yourself, this natural part of yourself that's actually very good at communicating and getting your point across, at being able to salvage relationships. That's a gift of yours. That's what I see here in this card. This man is salvaging these relationships. He's leaving that chaotic situation behind, and he's taking the people that he loves with him, and he's going to save all of them. Okay? Whereas this person is out on their own, sneaking out in the middle of the night, and leaving everyone behind because it's like it's no use. Okay, so you have this natural ability, this gift to communicate your thoughts to others, to salvage relationships, and to actually lead others. Okay, through your actions, through your words, you have this natural ability to gain people's respect. To be looked at as an authority on what you're saying. So you need to tap back into that, because somehow something through the way you were nurtured left you not believing in yourself in that area of life, or maybe left you not believing in others. Like, I know that I'm good at communicating what I want to say, but what's the point if no one ever listens and no one ever changes? Okay, you stopped believing that people actually can change. Not always, but it's always good to provide them an opportunity to be open and upfront, right? Okay, the other thing that I'm seeing here in these cards through your nurturing is we have this restlessness card. This is Mercury and Aries. And then we have the Two of Pentacles. And this person you can see is like juggling these two pentacles, right? When you're juggling, you can't ever stop, or one of your pentacles is going to drop. So for as long as you're juggling these two things, you've got to be constantly moving, right? Kind of like being restless, okay? Juggling a lot of things all at once, juggling two ideas, two people, two thoughts. It kind of feels like you, carry this into every aspect of your life, where it's like you always feel like you want to have two options on the table at any given time in terms of maybe a best friend or a partner or a job. It's like for you, there always needs to be more than one going on at both times. And it's like I don't know. It feels like maybe you've convinced yourself that it's always safer to have a second option, even though it can be tiring and exhausting and get complicated juggling two things at all times versus I'm choosing this pentacle and now look, I can just sit still and enjoy it. Um, I think there's this fear of like, I've always got to have more than one option because God forbid, what if I lose both, you know? But it's interesting because that's actually what you risk. That's what you risk by doing that. At some point, you will exhaust yourself. And what's going to happen then? You're juggling these two coins. You're determined to keep them both, right? But you're only human too. So at some point, you're going to maybe nod off and fall asleep. And then what happens? Both are going to drop. Both will be lost. Versus if you could have convinced yourself, forced yourself to choose one of the two pentacles right off the bat, then it's easy. Then you choose this pentacle, you let that one go, you keep this one safely in your pocket. There's no restlessness, there's no juggling, there's no exhaustion, there's no complications, okay? So Spirit's really, really wanting you to look at how you do this in every aspect of your life, always wanting two of everything because of this fear of having nothing, okay? This fear of, I don't want to turn down that option, turn away that opportunity because the one I choose may not work out anyways. So it's better to just have both. It's this duplicitous kind of Gemini-like energy almost, and it's causing you a lot more problems than any sort of positive effect it's having on your life. That's the truth. Mentally, emotionally, and even in your physical abundance, it is affecting you. You've got to whittle down the options. Okay, you've got to clean house in your life. You've got to say no to certain things. You've got to let go of certain things. Because in order for you to really focus on creating this sort of vision for your life that Spirit was touching on at the beginning, you can't have too much noise going on in your external environment. Things need to feel peaceful, okay? But they can't feel that way if you're juggling all these different activities and engagements and options and people and places and things, all these nouns, okay? So that's going to be really, really important. So there was something in your upbringing that instilled this sort of fear of not having any options. It was almost like this sort of lack mindset, fear of scarcity, of not having anything, of no one ever choosing you. I think those of you who chose this pile didn't really ever feel like the favorite, okay, if you had siblings, or maybe you didn't feel like there was always comparisons, it feels like, going on with other siblings or cousins or people that you just felt like you couldn't measure up to. And it feels like felt like why was I never chosen? Why did mom or dad not ever choose me? Why were they always choosing something else or someone else over me? Why do I feel so empty? Why do I feel so not special? Okay. And so this fear of not being chosen, this fear of ending up with nothing because you're never chosen, made you want to kind of like increase the odds, right? Because logically, it's like, well, the more things that I involve myself with, the more people I involve myself with, the higher the likelihood of at least one thing working out, right? So I'm increasing my chances here. But Spirit's like, no, you're actually decreasing your chances and have the potential to lose everything and all that you care about if you do things that way. So it's time to let some things go, all right? And the Eight of Wands, I also see this Eight of Wands is about very quick action, fast pace, incoming messages, things kind of hitting you all at once, all right? And that's another thing that feels like it was affected through the way that you were nurtured. I almost feel that there was so much that you learned to or had to kind of like shove beneath the rug, right? That you had to block mentally, or maybe from your memory, or maybe emotionally, like block and not acknowledge, because you knew there was no way to confront the people in your life to deal with it. That what happened is you would block, 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 things would build up until there was like a bust, a sort of explosion at a point when, well, now it's too late. Now the damage is done. Now I can't retrace my steps and do what I should have done, right? And it's because you were kind of shoving things under. Okay, so then it's like everything comes down and hits you all at once. It almost feels like you're constantly dealing with like one train wreck after another, like a big train wreck, then everything is seemingly like okay, I guess, for the most part, but you're shoving things beneath the rug. And then 2, 3, 4, 5 years later, another massive train wreck. Like, and by train wreck, I mean, it's like everything gets upended. You know, the job or the house or the relationship, it's like it all gets exploded in the train wreck. You have all of these realizations at once, but it's too late to do anything about it. And then you're back at square one. But then you do the same thing. I'm going to shove all my thoughts, all my feelings beneath the rug. I'm going to block that out. I'm going to forget about that. I don't want to deal with that. Seems like this happens mostly with your interpersonal relationships, friendships, family members, um, romantic partners, kids, that sort of thing. Okay. And so Spirit's wanting you to, what I'm hearing from Spirit is you need to remind yourself that you aren't a kid anymore and you're not being raised in your parents' household. The same rules no longer apply. Those were the rules that your parents constructed for their little world, you know, their home and their family. The sort of idea that, you know, don't come talk to us about what's on your mind, shove things under the rug and deal with them. You don't have to keep living by those rules. And you also need spirits wanting you to choose yourself, to give yourself that feeling of knowing that you are worthy, that you are chosen, that God chooses you, that Spirit chooses you, that you choose yourself, and that lots of people are going to choose you. That's why you're juggling so many dang options, right? Have you not noticed how chosen you are, even though you weren't as a child? How much longer do you need in order to see the proof of that? That people choose you, that people want you. In fact, your issue at this point is that you're juggling too many things. You've got to get back into your power, back into your groove. Work on that legacy that your nature wants you to build. Do you have any negative associations with money, with success, with abundance, with wealth? It feels like you might, due to, you know, something you experienced growing up, or maybe just the way society views money. I don't know. You're meant for success. There's no shame in that. It's a part of your DNA. Okay, it's who you are. What's wrong with that? Okay, let's look at the last two cards. Okay, we have Neptune. All right, and then we have a healing anger card. Now, this is the healthy side, and this is part of your nature. You were born feeling this way, and then through nurture, it turned into this. So let's take a look at the healthy side first, which is a part of your nature. I learned to love both the positive and the negative aspects of others as I grow to love my own strengths and weaknesses. Beautiful. So this is describing an individual who is extremely accepting, self-loving, self-aware, very aware and okay with their strengths as well as their weaknesses, understanding that other people have both positive and negative aspects. That's beautiful. Let's see what it's turned into over the years. Even when I fall in love or befriend others, I find a lot wrong with them after a while. This ties so well into what I was talking about here. I don't blame you for feeling that way, because if you were taught through the way you were nurtured, no, don't speak up, don't talk about it, just shove things under the rug, accept them, no relationship's going to be able to last that way. At some point, you're going to have a breaking point and just be like, I'm sneaking out, packing my bags, I'm getting away in the middle of the night, never looking back. I don't blame you. So the relationships in your life, a lot of them don't have anything to do with like who the people are or whether or not you're actually compatible with them. Most of it has to do with The fact that you suppress yourself. You don't allow yourself to talk things out, to deal with the little things. All right. And you may have been taught through your nurturing, obviously you were, but to kind of suppress. So then what happens is when other people in your life come to you freely and say, hey, we need to talk about this. It really bugged me the way that you did that. You may almost, want to explode at them because it's like you're thinking, I'm holding in so much crap. I'm holding in so much crap that you've done to me that's bothered me. And I've respected you enough not to bring it up with you. I've respected you enough to just shove it under the rug and deal with it. How dare you come at me with the things that I do that bother you, right? I feel like that's exactly how it goes every single time. And then the other person's looking at you like, oh, you've got a temper. You're nuts. What's wrong with you? Because in all honesty, they're dealing with things a little bit healthier than you are, in the sense that, yes, in a relationship, when there are issues, you should definitely talk them out in the moment before they turn into something massive, before they cause a huge rift, right? You should not be shoving things under the rug. But I see that you are, and therefore I totally understand why that really hits you the wrong way. Like it really hurts you when people come at you with these things that, hey, I want an apology for this, or I don't like the way you did that, because you're thinking, what the, am I just surrounded by people who just want from me? Meanwhile, I have to just suppress and hide all the crap they do to me that hurts me, right? So Spirit's like, it is time to work through this. You've got to make yourself start opening up and talking to people the moment that things bother you, the little things that bother you. Force yourself to bring it up while you're still calm about it, before it's gotten to a point where it's like, okay, now I'm about to explode because this is too much. This is like the 10th time. Talk about it while it's small so that you can work through that, all right? Now, with your own parents, it's probably not ever going to be the case with them. Yeah, it seems like that is how they kind of operate. So Spirit's recommendation for you there is spend less time with them, okay? Like, don't cut your parents out of your life, of course not. But, don't just make sure you're not spending too much time where things get a little too personal, a little too intertwined, because in those moments where they do something that hurts you, it is true, I can see from what Spirit's showing me, that you're not really ever going to be able to open up, talk to them about it, and get what you need from them, which is an apology, or, okay, I'll adjust the way I'm doing things. I do see that they're very blocked from that. Like, no, you just deal with me type of thing, right? So that's not the type of relationship that can really get vulnerable. It's not the type of relationship you want to be around all the time or 5 days a week, right? So as soon as you're able to, once you're an adult, the relationship with the parents can be more of a holidays and, occasional weekends and that sort of thing, but not like my parents are my best friend type of relationship. But the relationships you choose growing up, your partner, your best friends, hell, even your siblings, I feel like would be open to this type of relationship where things get talked about in an honest way, immediately before it gets too big. All right. So that's definitely what you need to, kind of force yourself to work through. I know it's going to feel kind of scary at first. Be courageous though. You can do it. You've got a big cleansing and purging going on in your life at the moment. You've got to whittle down those responsibilities. You're signing yourself up for a little too much, a little too many engagements and relationships and activities. It's time to get back to that vision, that focus of what is it that I want to build? What do I want my legacy to be? And am I working towards it? And it's totally okay to be abundant, to be successful, to be wealthy. There's nothing wrong with that. If I work hard and that's what I'm choosing to try and achieve, there's no shame in that, okay? And then we have Neptune here. Neptune is very creative, very fantasy-like. Neptune can also, depending on where it's at in your chart, make things very foggy, very unclear, deceptive, bring you kind of illusions. It's very opposite of Capricorn and Saturn, which is very grounded and realistic and practical and kind of even keel, right? Neptune is like, it can lie, it can trick, it can deceive. You can think you're seeing one thing, but actually be seeing something else. A lot of projection can go on with Neptune, where it's like you project, like maybe you meet someone, right? And what you do is you have this fantasy-like projection onto them, like, oh my gosh, they seem like just from the heavens, from a dream. They're absolutely perfect. It's a fantasy. This is everything I've ever wanted. It's amazing. No one can live up to that, because we're all human. And then once the cracks start to show, not really cracks, but once their flaws, their humanness, their negative traits start to show that we all have, you may want to bolt, or you may be so hurt by that the illusion, the fantasy is broken, that it's difficult to handle. You feel tricked, you feel duped. But what I'm hearing from spirit, it's almost like you duped your own self. You projected these things onto them. You saw what you wanted to see, I guess, which wasn't necessarily reality. So spirit's wanting you to take a look at your life and see where this Neptune energy could be having an effect, a hold on you, could be affecting you. How do you view your dad? How do you view your mom? How do you view your partner? How do you view your job, your kids, your own self? It feels like this Neptune energy has kind of come in and clouded your judgment here. Or maybe you're projecting, let's say, perfection onto the father, and almost like projecting this evilness, onto the mom, almost like very black and white sort of thinking. Because in your nature, at your core, remember, we had this card come out. I learned to love both the positive and the negative aspects of others as I grow to love my own strengths and weaknesses. That means I'm able to look at people in a realistic way and be accepting of who they are, what they are, and not project an image of perfection or evilness, onto them. That it doesn't have to be so black and white, okay? Because that way of viewing things, that's part of your nurture. It's part of the environment that you grew up in. I feel like you actually had a lot of people in your life view you with this Neptune energy, either project absolute perfection on you and then be furious once they realize that actually you're just a human. You have flaws. So there were certain people that you felt like you weren't allowed to have flaws around, or they would abandon you if you did. And then there was other people in your life, in your childhood, who also couldn't see the real you, because this Neptune energy made them view you as like evil, darkness. There's nothing good about you. Just, you're nothing but, horrible. Okay? Remember how painful that was when you experienced that, being abandoned or put on a pedestal, these two extremes. Remember how, I don't know, just how hard that was to deal with? People projecting onto you all the time what they wanted to see in you, what they decided or assumed. You are unconsciously, accidentally reliving that trauma in your adult life. Like you are now doing it to other people without realizing it. You get a boyfriend or a girlfriend and they're just, absolute perfection and everything's wonderful and I'm just floating and I'm totally outside of reality. Or maybe, I don't know, someone in your family says something hurtful to you that you don't like. And now all of a sudden you're just like, oh my gosh, you're awful, you're horrible, I never want to see you again. You're nothing but evilness, but darkness. Okay, I see you kind of vacillating between these two extremes. It makes it very hard for you to almost getting, how like whenever you swing on a swing set and you start getting nauseous and kind of woozy because that swinging has been going on so long. Spirit's making me feel that way. It's like I just want to grab that swing and just stop you and say, look, calm down. You're not going to lose everything. You're okay. The world isn't so black and white. Everyone's a little bit of both, including you. So I want you to try and work through that, because that's not actually a part of who you are. At your core, you're actually a very empathetic and a realistic, grounded sort of person with a wise perspective. Okay, but I can see that these hurt emotions from your childhood really affected how you view yourself, how you view the world, just not feeling good enough and not feeling like your voice really mattered anyway. All right, so I really, really feel for you guys, but man, are you guys powerful? Are you guys meant to be abundant, successful, right? Choose yourself. Clean house a little bit. Clean out your life. That way you are able to really focus. You may even need to literally clean out the house, like box some things up, get rid of some things. Start with that. That'd be a good symbolic way to get yourself into this mode of I'm clearing things out. I am minimizing things and getting back to the basics. Once you do, you're going to see that vision and you're going to soar. because I'm serious, you guys. You are such a powerful group. Your soul is so potent, all right? And I can't wait to see what you guys do. I would love it if you left me a comment down below. Let me know what that first initial symbol was that came to your mind when we took a look at this card. I would love to know. Maybe I can help you guys decode it, right? We can get into it and figure it out. I want to see you guys motivated, inspired, all right? Clear out any illusions that you have. Get to the bottom of things. You can do it. You can do it. You're ready for it. You're ready to soar. I love you guys so much. Thank you for coming, and I look forward to seeing you in next week's pick a card reading. Bye. Hey Pile 3, welcome to your reading. I can't wait to take a look at who you are and which parts of you are nature and which are nurture and why. So let's actually start by taking a roll of the die as usual. All right, we have a Neptune in the 4th house in Leo. So 4th house is our roots, our childhood, our ancestry, our home life and our private life, even as an adult, what we're doing at home in our sacred space. And Leo represents children, our inner child, where we shine, where we really find our spotlight, our adoration, our applause. It's also our inner creativity and just our fun and playful side. And Neptune here, Neptune is a planet that it's a planet of illusion, okay? And that illusion can either be positive or it can be negative. Neptune can create a fantasy world for you. Sometimes it's hard to decipher if that fantasy is, reality or not. Like, is this actually, am I finally receiving like what I've always dreamed of, or is this too good to be true? Like with Neptune, it's kind of hard to decipher and tell. Neptune kind of fogs and clouds things, just makes everything very dreamy and mystical, almost like you're just kind of out of it. You're in this dreamlike sort of state. So I feel like for you guys, a very important part of who you are at your core, your nature, your soul's essence, is this sacred home space, your private life. That is really where you are meant to shine and receive your applause. That is where you can create your own fantasy, because that's the space in your life that you control. The outside world, work and job, and how friends treat us, and how the people on the street treat us. Sometimes we're in traffic and people are rude and cutting us off, and all those things are outside of our control. But the one space in our life that's truly like, what do I want to make this, is your home, So it's fully under your control. And I feel like Spirit is urging you to really grasp onto that and focus on making your home kind of the center of your universe, where you can really step into a fantasy, step into a dream-like state. Because it's almost like what I'm seeing in the die is, if you are not utilizing this Neptune energy in a conscious way in your home life, it seeps out into other areas of your external world and leaves you kind of feeling duped, or maybe actually being duped, or disappointed by others, or just kind of at the mercy of life and of the world, because we can actually deal with a lot if we have a strong home to come back to. I was actually talking to my husband about this week, actually. I grew up in a really large family. I have like 8 siblings, but really when I was growing up, like by the time I graduated high school, I had 4 other siblings in the house with me. So I really grew up with 4 siblings, and we were all very close. We were actually homeschooled for a couple of years, and then I went back to regular public schooling when I was in 7th grade. And I did deal with quite a bit of just typical like teenage, nothing too drastic, but I was teased, okay, for my looks, my clothes, my hair. It was a lot. And I would come home and I would hold it all in, at school, just try and pretend like I didn't care, because I didn't want them to think that I cared, because that's what they wanted. And then come home and cry about it. So it was really hard, but I can't imagine how I would have handled that mentally and emotionally if I didn't have all my siblings to come home to, and like my sacred home space of knowing that like, okay, I've got to stick it out at school for these 8 hours, but once I'm home, then I'm back with my real tribe. I'm going to chill with my brother and sister, and we're going to watch our TV show, and I'm going to get to vent it all out to mom. So yeah, if I didn't have that, I think that's where a lot of kids nowadays can really go down a spiral where what they're experiencing at school seeps into the rest of their life, into their mind, and can really take them down. Whereas if, in my opinion, if you've got that really strong, like ideal home life, you can kind of go out and deal with anything. Even though it's unpleasant, it's like it gives you the strength to pull through. It feels like that's what you're needing to create in your life, your sacred home space, a place that you can recharge and replenish yourself, a place where you can pour yourself into whatever version of creativity you would like to express without worry and fear of feedback and judgment and criticism. Whatever it is, maybe you want to like get into cake decorating, as you're YouTubing videos and you've got this whole like cake decorating kit at home, or maybe you're like, I think I want to like grab a ukulele and try and learn how to play like a couple songs on it, or who knows? And the decor and the cleanliness of the space and whatever. It feels like you really need that. It's a part of your soul's essence, something it really, really needs. Okay, so that way, when you are dealing with your day-to-day life outside of the home, you'll be able to handle whatever's out there because you've got your sacred space to come back to. Okay, let's take a look at the card topper you all gravitated towards. Very cool looking card. It's got this Egyptian face here in the center. Let's see what this says. Okay, it says insights. See beyond appearances, masks, cliches, and cultural stereotypes to gain insight. Interesting. So I find it interesting that it's bringing up mask, okay, because that's kind of what I was touching on with Neptune. Neptune, wherever it is in our life, can deceive us, okay? It can represent kind of deception, where maybe that area of our life seems to have a mask on it, and we think it's one thing, and then the mask comes off, and we're like, wait, what? That's not what I expected. And that can either be for the better or for the worse, basically, just depending on what is that mask and what's beneath it. Is what's beneath it actually better than the mask, or vice versa? And so with Neptune, we have to be very cautious and careful about making assumptions or projecting. Okay, Neptune's also a big like projector, where we can project what we want to see onto that other thing or that person. So like if it's someone that we fell in love with, we might project perfection onto that person, almost like they're angelic, they have no faults. We'll turn a blind eye to it because we're projecting this Neptunian perfection onto them. Or we can even project more negative aspects. Maybe someone does like one thing that rubs us the wrong way, and then we all of a sudden start projecting all the things that we dislike and kind of attaching it to that person, like assuming that they must be all of those things because of what we're initially perceiving of them. So not really getting down into their depth, but taking that initial mask, that initial facade, and making a judgment about it, knowing that we don't have all the facts yet. We can't be certain. And so this card seems to be talking about this as well. Insight, seeing beyond the appearances, the cultural stereotypes, the masks, and the cliches. I also can hear Spirit saying, okay, there's two things that I need to touch on here. I'm trying to make sure I say two so that I know I don't forget the other. The first one is, at your core, your soul is very innocent and naive, okay? It feels young. I feel like your soul is probably the youngest out of the other piles here, so not quite as many reincarnations. It doesn't have to be, but that's kind of the energy I'm feeling. It feels young and sweet and innocent, and it makes me think of like Little Red Riding Hood, right? She was young, naive, innocent. So it became very easy to lead her astray, for her to not see past the mask to the truth of what was going on. So it's so beautiful, the essence of your soul, and this innocence, this purity. But it is something that has to be managed and protected, right? So that's kind of what Spirit's wanting me to talk to you about. Spirit doesn't want you to get rid of your innocence, your purity, the youth within your soul, your nature. Not at all. It just wants you to be conscious of it, okay? So that way you can help navigate with it. Another thing too is because of this innocence and naivety of what I've been touching on here, and think of the Red Riding Hood story, okay? How it was so easy to kind of like tell her what was, and she would believe it. I guess she was a little bit gullible. That goes along with innocence as well, right? Um, she would believe it, and she would follow that, and she would adopt whatever she needed to adopt. I mean, I really think that well, most kids are like that. You know, if you raise a child in a, for example, a strictly Christian household, it's not until that child is an adult or maybe a teenager that they start forming their own ideas and opinions about the world. When they're young, they'll very easily adopt, you know, whatever religion they were raised in, to be honest, and whatever belief systems, political ideologies, all of these things are kind of infused into us as a child. And then once we get older, we have the capacity to kind of look around and think, okay, well, this is how I was raised, but is that how I want to be, right? It feels like your soul is almost like a little sponge of just this youthfulness, this sort of young energy, okay? And so I'm seeing here in this card that there are certain, I feel like you do this with your own self, okay? There's certain judgments that you've attached to your own appearance, certain cliches, certain cultural stereotypes, and I'll even go as far as to say, you know, political and religious ideologies and convictions, values, um, things like this that you've kind of adopted. Like you've seen someone that you liked speaking on it, or you've looked down at yourself and said, you know, oh, I'm from this sort of cultural background, so that means that I'm supposed to do X, Y, or Z, or that means that I'm supposed to believe this, or I'm supposed to vote for this. So it's not even that it's actually tied to how you truly think or believe. It's more like you don't even stop to think that. It's like you're looking kind of for guidance. So you vote that way, not because you believe that way at your core, but you're like, well, but I am, you know, I'm a woman, so women are supposed to vote like this. So I'm going to do that. Okay. So spirit's wanting to help you get more insight into your own self, your own nature, the core of who you are, to start questioning some things. I'm also hearing that that's kind of why you came down into this lifetime, because your soul is a bit younger. It's fresh. Okay. Your soul doesn't have as much baggage as some of, you know, other people's. It's a little bit more open-minded, optimistic, but your soul feels, it feels blank in a way. I mean, it really does feel kind of like a clean slate. And it was wanting to come down into this lifetime to help kind of start that writing process, start writing on that slate, start really diving into its own self-discovery and not, and this is the thing, it becomes not dangerous, but tricky for you to accept a whole lot of outside influence from the world, from society, from your culture, from your family, because you have this sponge-like quality where you kind of listen and believe and then say, oh, okay, your soul's really, really wanting to discover its own self and what it thinks, regardless of what other people are thinking, and like kind of write its own code. Okay. There's a lack of not identity, but I will say your identity is not what you think it is. There's a lot of things that you identify with that you only identify with because you've never stopped to question if it really represents you. And that's what your soul's really wanting from you. Okay, so let's get into the tarot cards and we'll get a little bit more information. So the top row is going to be the cards representing your nature, you know, what's a part of you inherently, and the bottom row is representing your nurture. What is a part of you because of the way that you were raised and nurtured, what environment you grew up in. And actually one extra card wanted to come out for you guys, so I'm just putting it at the top. I don't know what it is. Spirit just kind of said that it would tie into the reading as a whole. So let's take a look at that first. We have the Strength card. All right, so more Leo energy. So we have that in the die and here again on the card. Strength. Leo. You know, Leo is all about the self-expression. it's the king, right? So it's like the ruler, the leader of itself. It's the sun, that gives life to the world. So it is very strong. It is very powerful. It's very generous and it's loving. Leo rules the heart chakra. So I feel like there is definitely with you all like a sense of fear in, do I really want to go down that road of questioning my values? And like, what if I discover that some of my beliefs go against my parents and then it causes a rift, or my friends, or I'll feel like an outcast in society? Like, do I want to take that chance and go down that road? I don't know. I think I'll just, keep going along to get along. Like I'm pretty happy as is. Okay. And that's kind of what the strength card talks about here. This woman, she had to have a certain amount of courage and to be confident in her own strength in order to come out and tame this lion. This lion doesn't have a chain, doesn't have a cage, is a beast, right? A big animal. So she had to have courage and confidence in her strength to be capable of taming this lion. And not only that, but the lesson in this card is that the lion was tamed through sweetness, through generosity, through gentleness, not through force or rebellion or punishment or revenge or none of that. All right. So this lifetime for you is really about truly discovering your identity, tapping into unconditional love and knowledge of yourself. Who am I and what does that mean? And now that I know who I am, I want to express it. I want to exist and be confident in who I am. How do I get there without using force, without using fire, without using pain, without using a temper or aggression? I feel like there's this fear in you that the only way to get there is to somehow rifts are going to be made, aggressive force will be needed. But that's not the lesson on the strength card. I would encourage all of you actually to, after this reading, Google the meaning of the strength card. And every tarot reader's got a slightly different interpretation. Go to several websites and just read through it. It's really going to give you a good idea of what this lifetime as a whole is about for you. You are supposed to find your inner shine. Your self-expression is supposed to be big, but it starts here at home. Your home life and private life is going to be the foundation for this. Okay. So you've got to make sure that your living conditions are good. You have to be happy at home. If you're in a position where you need roommates, you need to pick roommates that you get along with, that share your taste, because home for you is truly your foundation. You blossom, you grow your roots in your home life so that you can blossom out in the world. It is that important for you all. So if clutter's bugging you, like cleaning the house has to be a priority, maintaining the home has to be a priority, decorating the space, renovating the space, anything that's going to make you feel more at peace at home, a priority. Okay, let's look at the other set of cards here. Okay, so we have Jupiter in Taurus. It says status. Ten of Swords. 5 of Wands. And 3 of Pentacles. So that's your nature. Let's look at the nurture. Okay, so we have Venus in Libra. It says indecision. This is Page of Pentacles. The Hierophant. This is Taurus energy. So we've got that twice here. And Page of Wands. Okay, 2 pages. All right. Okay, so I can see here, first of all, in the 5 of Wands, this is actually Leo energy as well, Saturn and Leo. Let me show you this. All of the people in this card are fighting for a little bit of spotlight. All of them want to have their say. They want people to listen to them. They want to be heard. They're all kind of fighting for their 15 minutes of fame or their little bit of spotlight or recognition, like being able to stand out from everyone else, being strong enough and confident enough to like pull through and be the one that made it. So at your core, in your nature, you do have this competitive sort of drive within you. that does make you want to, I want to be the best. I want to stand out, you know? I want to feel good for accomplishing this, that, or the other, or even like for beating that person, you know, that at your core that might make you feel good. I mean, don't kids love that? Kids love a good game, a good competition where there's a winner and there's a loser, and they just enjoy that. So that's not a negative thing. This is part of your nature. You enjoy that little bit of competition. You enjoy having to work in order to stand out and having other people wanting the same thing, but you did better, and so you obtained that. You know, in this card, Ten of Swords. This is about being stabbed in the back, okay? So this is bringing up more Neptune vibes again. Your nature is that of a very trusting person, okay? Now again, when I say your nature, I'm talking about your soul's essence, your genetics, you know, your DNA, the things that would have been part of you no matter what environment or family you were raised with. Like, you were born this way. You have this very trusting energy that can leave you prone to being deceived or hurt by others, or taken kind of aback by others, especially because I'm seeing in the Strength card that you have something that you, I don't want to say this like you're the problem, because it's not true. They're the problem. But there's something about you that brings out jealousy and envy in others. Okay? It could be that you are incredibly beautiful. It could be that you have some sort of talent. You know, maybe you're a wonderful singer. Maybe you are a good speaker. Maybe you were born into a family, you know, with money. I don't know what, maybe you're very smart, you know, always making the best grades, teacher's pet. I don't know what it is, but there's something about you that brings out jealousy and envy in others. Okay? And so while you're out here like thinking everything's just a good, healthy, fun competition, you know, you're enjoying that little bit of stress to try and get to the top, at least at your nature, at your core, you're very trusting, and you're not always able to see the negative intentions others have towards you, whether it be someone that you think is a friend. Meanwhile, they're trying to sleep with your partner behind your back, or talking crap about you, or spilling your secrets to other people. You know, it's like little things like this, okay? So Spirit's wanting you to be aware that your soul, your spirit, your energy is very trusting, but can also attract whatever it is that you have. You attract something that brings out jealousy in others. So knowing that, it's important to be very careful and choosy with who you do allow, you know, your trust. Okay, so that's going to be important for you to navigate in this lifetime. You knew that when you signed up for this life, okay? So this is no surprise to your soul or anything. It's nothing that you've done wrong that's led you here. This is just, I mean, who you are. And what a beautiful energy it really is to be this kind of open and loving, this gentle energy that you have. Of course it's envious to others. You know, it honestly could just be that. The fact that you are just, you have this optimism about you that shows in your face, in your energy with others. Even if you aren't thinking very optimistically, you know, maybe you're really hard on yourself inside, but like what the outside world sees, what people see in public settings is this beautiful optimism, this youthfulness, this grace, this style, and it can make people very jealous, all right? So be careful with who you let into your inner circle. Even partners could end up jealous of you and projecting their own insecurities onto you because of that jealousy. You know, maybe they don't feel like they're measuring up in life, and so then they put the blame on you. They say, you know, you're the problem. I could have been this. I could have done that. You need to be more this way. You need to be more that way. When really, and Spirit's saying, when they say things like that, you need to reimagine that they're saying it to themselves. You know, so maybe they're actually looking at you and saying, you need to be more driven. I wanted to be with a driven person. Reimagine it that they're saying, I need to be more driven, because that's the reality of what's going on. That's that Neptune stuff. You guys might have Neptune in your first house of your natal chart, or even in your seventh house. Again, you don't have to, but a lot of the stuff that's coming up is reminding me of kind of Neptune in the first house qualities. Okay, the other part of your nature is this Three of Pentacles. And this is someone who is a master of their craft and is looked up to for their work, and even is given the opportunity and chance to instruct and lead others. So this is a sculptor here. This person was paid to do this sculpture. And in most tarot decks, this one sculptor has two other people working beneath them that they're kind of like training and showing the ropes type of thing. And so this is just kind of another aspect of your nature. At your core, you do want to instruct others or lead others in some way. Like, you definitely need to work with people, all right? You should not be in a job where you are locked away behind a desk, like disconnected from people, or where you don't have like coworkers, or even like some sort of hierarchical structure where it's like, the employees and then the assistant manager and then the manager, or however it works. Because at your core, you really like that gives you that element of competition that you crave. Like, ooh, there's a ladder to work up into. Like, this feels good. Right now I'm an employee, but I'm going for that assistant manager role. And then you get that, and it's like, okay, time to move up to manager. You really need that. It helps keep you focused. And also, you're just great at kind of instructing people. You have this sort of warm, generous heart, this energy about you that is great for leading others. And so Spirit's wanting you to, for those of you who are thinking or rethinking college, career, I don't know what I want to do, try and keep that in mind, okay? Because these qualities are a part of your nature, okay? It's important for you to fulfill those aspects of yourself. Okay, on this card here, we have Jupiter and Taurus. This is status, okay? So it goes in with the competitive sort of thing that's a part of your nature. Also, do you notice the little crown? So more Leo energy. Yeah, you're at your core, within your nature, you want to be someone that is king-like, queen-like, that is in some sort of leadership or position, or has a sense of a status, exclusivity about them. You want to be, but you don't want it just given to you. You want to be able to work your way up to that. It's like you want to earn that status. And something for people to look up to in that sense. So you want the finer things in life. You want abundance. You want to be in those sort of exclusive roles and areas of life, whether it be, I want to be able to vacation here or there. I want to be able to purchase this brand of clothing, or I want to, whatever it is, that's just natural to who you are. So Spirit doesn't want you to feel ashamed of that. If people try and tell you you're being superficial, well, no, you're not, because this status that you want, that you crave, you want to earn it. At least at a soul level, you're wanting to earn it, and earn it fairly. You're not a cheater. You're not a liar. You truly want to work hard and get to the top and beat the competition and earn that status. So if you're wanting to earn it fairly, that doesn't sound superficial to me. That doesn't sound careless to me. It sounds like you want to do something that's worthy of a prize, that's worthy of a reward. So let go of any shame or questions you may have about, is that superficial? Maybe I should let this or that go. I don't see that in the cards at all. Okay, on the bottom row, we have two pages, Page of Pentacles, Page of Wands, and the Hierophant. It's interesting that I was talking about children raised in strict religious backgrounds, because the Hierophant, he's the pastor of the church. And the Hierophant card often, it represents religion. Okay, so I do feel that, and now we're in this row talking about your nurturing, what things affected, how, I have the hardest time phrasing this, how the way you were raised, the way you were nurtured affected different aspects of your personality and your identity, okay? So I see here with the Hierophant that you were raised likely in some sort of strict religious background, or maybe had parents who maybe worked in certain churches, or really it just depends on what religion you were raised in, that had a big effect on what you thought of the world, what you thought God was, what sort of rules you were supposed to follow as you got older. Are you supposed to get married before you move in with someone, or I don't know, it could be anything. If it wasn't religion, it could have been politics. Maybe you had a parent that was deeply involved in politics in some sense. Or if it wasn't attached to religion or politics, the Hierophant, he's the pastor. He's the one who kind of says what the rules are, what God says the rules are, and helps people follow them, right? So you could have even just had a parental figure that was like that. That was like, look, This is how you're supposed to live life. This is what you can do. This is what you can't. This is how you need to do it. You have to do it my way, because my way is the right way. This is what you should believe. This is how you should vote. This is what religion, this is who you should marry. So it could have been something like that as well. And you just had to learn from a really early age, go along to get along. It's easier to just agree and not question, because if I start questioning things, the people I love get upset with me. I don't want to cause chaos. So I'm just not going to think about it. I'm going to do what they tell me, and I'm just not going to think about it. Okay. But that sort of upbringing left you with this indecisive sort of energy. That's what this card is showing, indecision. This ability to make a decision, decide what's right, decide what's wrong, because at some point we leave our parents' house and then we're out in the world on our own. And then we have to decide, where do we want to work? We have to decide, when is it the right time to get married or to break up with someone? How much am I supposed to put up with before I break up with someone? When should I have kids? Where should I be living? How much debt is it okay to get into? Should I make this purchase? There's so many big decisions that life comes with. And it looks like, because of your background, your parents didn't instill you with the right to learn how to make choices and decisions for yourself. It was like when you were under their roof, all the decisions were made by them. They didn't allow you to grow that area of the brain, that muscle. It's a muscle to be able to kind of weigh the pros and cons, look at the options, make a decision, feel confident in that choice. Okay, so I see that now that you are getting older into adulthood, you have become very indecisive because you're not confident in your ability to make decisions. And Spirit's wanting you to know that, look, you are not an indecisive person, okay? You've got this fiery, competitive, expert-like energy within you. This indecisiveness is a byproduct of the way that you were raised, which means if it's not an inherent part of your nature, it is something that can be worked through, healed, and changed. Decision-making truly is a muscle. It takes practice. Just like if I want to learn how to lift a 100 weight dumbbell, I've just got to set up a plan and start lifting weights every single day. Eventually I will. Like, it's a guarantee. I have zero doubt in my mind that if I go to the gym every day to lift weights, I'll be able to lift a 100-pound dumbbell eventually. And it's the same sort of confidence that I have in telling you that making decisions takes practice. But as long as you practice and develop that muscle, it becomes easier and easier. Unless it's an inherent part of your nature. Maybe there's some people that are just born naturally that way. But in your case, you're not. Okay, so you just got to develop this muscle, build back your confidence that you had when you were very young, you had when you were little. It almost feels like when you were really young, you carried yourself in a regal sort of way. Like you kind of, I don't know, you were queen-like or king-like. You may have even been like a little bit, not bossy per se, but maybe it came across that way to some people. But you seem like the type who, like, when all your little friends got together when you were 4 and 5 years old, you were the one being like, okay, now it's time to play this. Everyone come over here. Here's the rules. Like, kind of just naturally carrying yourself as a queen or a king. Like, I just am the leader, So it's not that you were harsh or anything. It was just you had this confidence about you to be able to make decisions like, what's the group going to play next? What kind of flavored birthday cake do I want this year? Or, whatever. And you've lost that. You've lost touch with that part of yourself, okay? Now, on either side of the Hierophant are these two different pages. Page of Wands, Page of Pentacles. Pages represent like an open-minded and young energy. They often represent new, like, learning experiences, like going to college or working on some sort of certificate or doing on-the-job training. Okay, so it's like the beginning, like you haven't mastered it yet, but you're just kind of starting your learning process in these areas. And that's why they're usually represented by kind of younger people or energies. So I do feel that these aspects of yourself, well, Pentacles represent money, financial security, material gains, and Wands represents that sort of entrepreneurial ability, that passion, that sort of creative spark that's going to make plans to kind of chase after something and go after this and study that. These two aspects of you are underdeveloped because of your upbringing, because of the way you were nurtured growing up. But you can always catch up on these. All right. And that's really what Spirit's wanting you to do. First of all, they're wanting you to give yourself some credit, because I do feel that you are a little bit harsh on yourself. You look around at other people your age, and they seem so much more quote unquote adult than you. They seem like they've just got everything together. They seem like they're not facing the same sort of internal struggles as you. And I think you sometimes question yourself and think, well, am I just stupid? Am I just dumb? Maybe everyone else is just smarter than me. Like, am I just immature? Why can't I get my stuff together? You are not dumb and you're not immature. Okay. So if those are two things you're telling yourself, that needs to stop. Now, you are behind on a few things, but not because of your mental capacity, your intelligence. No, it's because of how you were raised, okay? And your parents not fostering this part of you, allowing you to grow. You know, if my mom didn't ever practice and teach me how to ride a bike, I would be 31 right now and have no clue how to ride a bike. Because, I mean, how am I going to learn unless I practice, unless I get on it and practice? Okay, so it's the same thing. Me not knowing how to ride a bike would have nothing to do with my level of intelligence or maturity. You know, if it were the case, it would have to do with the simple fact that, well, I mean, my parents never took the time to teach me. They never bought me a bike. But hey, you know, I'm going to buy a bike tomorrow and I'm going to teach myself. And the cool thing is that when you wait until you're older to do something, or say it just happens to you, you pick it up a lot quicker. If I had never learned how to ride a bike and I decided after this video that I'm going to teach myself, I'm going to go buy a bike tomorrow, I bet you anything, if I did that, having never ridden a bike before, I'd be able to figure it out in less than a day. Now, when I was 7 and I was learning how to ride a bike, it took me several months. First, I had to start out with the little training wheels, you know, and then my mom would take off one wheel, so I had on one side. And it was a several month long process for me to figure out how to do it. If I were to start now, that wouldn't be the case. So that's what Spirit's wanting me to tell you. These things that you're behind on because your parents didn't foster them in you at the age that it typically happens with most kids, it's not going to take you months or years to catch up to your peers. You will get there quicker because you're at a more mature age and because you're not dumb. You are smart, okay? So cut yourself some slack. Give yourself a little bit of credit, all right? Okay, let's look at the last couple cards. We have the Cancer card. I'm a Cancer rising. You guys let me know down below if we got any Cancer sun, moons, or risings. Okay, this card first has a positive phrase and a negative. The positive one is what's a part of your nature, you at your core. And the negative one is going to be how it shifted to something darker due to your nurturing, the way you were raised. So let's read the positive one first. It's a living in society card. It says, every phase in life brings its own unique joy and sense of purpose. I love that. Talk about optimistic. Sounds very Sagittarius to me. Very optimistic, very Jupiter sounding. Okay, so that's what you were born into this life kind of thinking and feeling. Like, I'm so excited because, you know, every single phase in life has its own sense of purpose and unique joy. Now let's see what life's done to you and what it's changed to. Now that my children are grown, I don't know what to do with my life. Now that my children are grown, I don't know what to do with my life. It's interesting that coming up with the Cancer card, because Cancer represents mothering, motherhood, okay? Now, obviously, not all of you have kids, but that last phrase is kind of a representation of how after certain phases of our life ending, we can feel lost and without a sense of purpose. Instead of being reminded that, yes, while this phase is being moved on from, that means we've got a whole new and different and unique phase to look forward to get excited about, to plan for. Like, we're supposed to constantly evolve and transform over our life. We're not supposed to be stagnant, to be in the same sort of role or position forever. Now, Cancer energy, which came up here, can be very nostalgic. Cancer likes to look back on the past, sometimes likes living in the past, likes reflecting on those things. So I could see how if you've got any of that energy in your chart, there's a part of you that likes to reminisce and reflect on the simple times, the easy times. I actually feel like a lot of you reminisce and fantasize about childhood because you did have a childhood where, although it wasn't necessarily ideal for everyone, you really weren't having to grow up too fast. You didn't have like a whole lot of responsibilities. Kind of feels like, you know, the house was taken care of by mom and dad paid the bills, or even if they were separated, Even we've been talking through this reading here, how there was a lot that they didn't really prep you for, in adulthood. You kind of just were a kid, and it's like, oh, now you're an adult, bye-bye, and I think that kind of overwhelmed you and freaked you out, made you feel a little lost, might have caused you to cling to the wrong people. Maybe you got married right out of high school and just did not vet that person correctly, especially with Neptune here. You thought you were getting married to someone or something totally different, and it's that youthful naivety inside of you, and also the fact that it doesn't seem like your parents really prepped you for a lot. So whatever's coming up for you now, there's obviously with this card here some sort of phase that is ended and a new phase that you're going into, and you're feeling a bit lost and confused, and Spirit's wanting you to remember that at your core, a part of your nature is this belief that every single phase in life has a purpose and a joyfulness, okay? That it should be something exciting, something with a lot of optimism, to be able to think, oh gosh, what do I want to do next? What's it going to be like now? Maybe I can start doing this. Maybe I can start doing that. To add back this element of competitive drive that you have, to go after and achieve that status that you want to achieve. What is it that you're great at? Pour yourself into that. And really, really very important for you with Leo and Cancer coming up here, because Cancer rules the fourth house in the die. Your home life and private life has to be a priority for you. Okay, so if you've been thinking about renovating, cleansing, purging, organizing, kicking some roommates out, whatever it is, updating, take this as a sign to do it. If you have to do it on a budget, go ahead. Sometimes you don't even have to renovate anything. A lot of times, just cleaning things really good, getting things organized, getting rid of stuff is all you need to really feel like the energy is refreshed and good to go. When you prioritize your home, it organizes every other aspect of your life for you. That truly is your kingdom, and it needs to be treated as such. Okay, remember, every day you wake up in your home, you need to remind yourself that you are the queen or you are the king of this castle that you were in. Think of it as your castle, your kingdom, and you are the leader of it. And lead your kingdom, lead your home life and private life. Okay. All right. I love you guys so much. Thank you for coming, for listening, for letting us talk, for letting me discover a little bit more about you. I really, really hope you enjoyed it. And I look forward to seeing you guys in next week's Pick a Card reading. Bye, my love. Hey, Pile 4, welcome to your reading. I can't wait to take a look at your nature versus your nurture, which parts of you are inherent to your DNA, your biological makeup, your soul's essence, and which aspects of yourself and your personality are a byproduct of the environment that you were raised in, the nurturing that you received, and what Spirit wants to say to you about all of this. So let's start by taking a roll of the die. All right, we have South Node in Virgo in the fourth house. There was another pile you may have felt drawn to. If so, take this as confirmation of that, okay? All right, so fourth house is about our childhood, our roots, our ancestry. It's about our private life and our home life, even as an adult, the things that go on at home in our own little world, our own little sacred space. The South Node is about our comfort zone. It's about the things we're very accustomed to, very used to, but they don't necessarily push us out of our boundaries. If we stay in that South Node energy, we're not going to discover anything new about ourselves. And a lot of times, the things that we're accustomed to and used to aren't even things that are good for us. If you grew up in a physically abusive household from a young age, well, you got used to that sort of abusive energy. It probably got a lot easier to handle. Kind of like how, construction workers or people who work with their hands a lot, it hurts at first, but then after some time, they develop these sort of calluses. So it's like they don't feel that pain anymore because the skin's toughened up, right? That could be the same thing in symbolically in what I'm talking to you about here. There could be certain things that you have adjusted to or had to adjust to. And so they just become kind of your comfort zone. It feels more comfortable, perhaps, for you to experience physical or emotional abuse, not that it feels good, but that it feels not surprising. It's like, oh, okay, I know how this feels. I know how to deal with this. Versus for you to be showered with love, with compliments, with tons of affection, that would be kind of out of your comfort zone. And you would kind of be like, feel awkward and like, I don't really know what to do. This is so odd, right? Okay, so South Node can represent those things, good and bad, the things that we're just very used to. Okay, Virgo energy is an energy that's about being of service to others, being kind of I always use martyr when I talk about Virgo energy, someone who really sacrifices themselves for others, that wants to help others fix things, that wants to adjust things, that wants to look at things with a critical eye and see how they can heal things, or, whatever's going on. So all these things are a part of your nature, your natural energy. At your core, your soul, your essence is someone that is private, that doesn't have this need to kind of be out in the spotlight or in the public eye, that is totally fine just kind of being in its comfort zone and helping others, being of service to others. Okay, a very humble sort of energy. That is definitely a part of your nature, and we'll see what Spirit wants to say to you about that as we go through the rest of the reading. But let's take a look at the card topper you gravitated towards. Now look, it's got this sun rising on the horizon, and it's got like a cat face. And this is giving me like strong Leo energy, right? The sun rules Leo. Leo's represented by the lion. This sun kind of looks like a lion. And Leo is like opposite of this Virgo energy. Leo wants to be out in the spotlight. It wants to shine, it wants to get out in the public eye. So kind of an interesting contradiction between this card and the die. Let's see what the back says. It says, innovation. Have fun and experiment, inventing something that surprises and has never existed before. Oh, wow. Very cool, because that's totally getting yourself out of your comfort zone. And this is the guidance that Spirit's wanting to give you. Maybe it's time to push yourself out of what's comfortable to you, to think outside the box, right? Some of you may have a cool idea or some sort of nifty invention up your sleeve that maybe you created years ago, or like thought up but never put into action. Or maybe some of you just haven't opened up your minds like that yet to be able to kind of get in that creative flow and get a little bit innovative. Kind of gives me like Aquarius vibes and energy. Okay, let's look at the tarot. The first row of cards represent your nature, and the bottom row represents the nurturing aspect of your life and how that shaped and affected you. Okay, we have Mercury in Libra. It says influence. Then we have the Wheel of Fortune, the Knight of Pentacles. That's Earth energy, so Virgo as well as Taurus and Capricorn, and King of Swords. So there's some of that Aquarius energy I was picking up on, but this could also be Libra and Gemini as well. We got two cards with masculine energy. So yeah, your nature actually leans more towards the masculine than the feminine. I mean, we're all made up of masculine and feminine energy. Typically, the one that we have more of is the one we most often kind of present to the world. It dictates kind of what sort of clothing and personal style we gravitate towards, our mannerisms, the way that we speak and carry ourselves. So for you, it actually leans more towards the masculine side, which is great. Masculine energy is energy that wants to actually exert itself upon the world, whether that be through leading others, through like creating, innovating something, progressing something, fighting for something. Feminine energy is much more receptive and much more like, I'm going to be here and be still and just receive. I'm going to kind of help things grow here and there. Okay, that's more feminine. And that is what I described when we rolled out the die. But I'm seeing in the cards a slightly different sort of energy. Now, the Knight of Pentacles, he's the slowest moving of all the knights. And he is kind of the planter. He plants seeds, okay? The other knights are out killing and fighting each other. But Knight of Pentacles, he's on his horse and he's kind of planting a row of crops. And sometimes they use the analogy that, maybe he's planting grapes or grape trees, or he's planting a vineyard, right? And vineyards take a long time to grow. You have to wait for those trees to grow and water and take care and plan. But you just know that if you're slow and steady, if you're diligent and dutiful, They will grow, and eventually you're going to have a vineyard that could be worth millions of dollars. That is the energy of this Knight of Pentacles. He is not in it for instant gratification. He is patient and determined and slow moving. He likes to be slow and steady because he feels that that is important in order to obtain success and security and stability in life. So this is a part of your nature. When you do decide that you want to do something, you might be a little bit slower moving compared to other people. But it's not because you're lazy. It's actually that's a thought out thing for you. They're like, well, but I know what I want to do, so I just need to make sure all my ducks are in a row, and I'm just waiting. You're very patient as far as the timing of all of it, okay? And that's just a part of your nature. I actually feel that you inherited that part of your nature from your father, from your father's DNA. Doesn't have to be, but that's what I'm feeling most strongly. Someone in your family, your realm of influence, I think male, has this same sort of trait, okay, in their DNA. And so you inherited that from them. Now, King of Swords is he speaks truth, okay? He likes to write the laws. He likes to make the rules. He likes to dictate the punishments if the laws are to be broken because he wants to keep things in order. And he uses verbal expression most often in order to do that. So if someone breaks up the law, he would be the type of king that says, bring them to me, I want to talk to them. You know, kind of like the judge in the courtroom. They often don't just lay down the law or, you know, tell them what the sentence is, but they'll usually give some sort of communication to the person that's about to go to jail. You know, I think this, I think you should have done that. Hopefully this makes you think. Okay, so King of Swords is very good at verbal debate, verbal discussion. He's very confident in his choice of words, and he likes to use words, writing, you know, whether it be letters or, you know, any form of communication to regulate his kingdom. Okay, and you are the same way. You prefer to use your discussion, your verbal communication in order to get your points across. Some of you could be authors or poets or singers or songwriters. You don't have to be, though, but this is just a skill that you have. It's just a part of your nature. You can be very good and you can be very forceful with your words when you want to be, or at least you inherited that. It's in your nature to be this way. We'll see when we get to the bottom row of the cards how your nature, your upbringing has affected that aspect of you, because I'm feeling for some of you that that's been weakened. This King of Swords energy, due to the way that you were raised, has been kind of taken off the throne. So we'll see about getting him put back up there, shall we? Okay, last card here before we get to the bottom row is the Wheel of Fortune. The Wheel of Fortune is a card that is represented by Jupiter, which is the planet of optimism and expansion and, you know, I wonder what's going to happen next. The Wheel of Fortune is, it's exciting because you never know if what's happening next is going to be in your favor or against your favor, but there's almost this energy of kind of like gambling, okay? People go to Vegas all the time and they gamble, and it's like they know there's a chance that they could lose, but it's almost like, I don't care. I'm just having fun watching and seeing what happens. If I lose, fine, but let's just go out and try. This feels like it's a part of your energy, at your nature, within your core. This sort of excitement to just see what happens, even if it's not in your favor, or if it is, it's like that doesn't matter so much. Not that it doesn't matter, but there's this part of you that just likes to see life kind of moving and cycling, you know, likes to see the change of the seasons, likes to hear about new things and new events and what's going on here and what's going on there, and would actually prefer to have a life that maybe has some bad news mixed in with some good news than to have a life where there's no news at all, okay? You know, you'd rather have the fluctuations of the up and down. You'd rather get on the roller coaster than to never get on a ride at all. Okay, that's part of your nature. You like to kind of, there's this curious side to you. You want to kind of peek around the next corner. You want to kind of, you know, get a little close to danger. Not too much, but there's a part of you that likes that thrill, that excitement of, ooh, I wonder what's going to happen next, you know? And that sort of outlook actually keeps life interesting for you, and it really does help you mitigate the downfalls in life, the difficult things that you've been through. You have this part of yourself to think, this part of yourself that reminds you that things are bad now, but I know with certainty that at some point that Wheel of Fortune is going to spin again and I'm going to be a winner. things are going to look up once again. You understand that cyclical nature of life, that sometimes things are up, sometimes they're down. It keeps you positive. It keeps you from drowning in pessimism and depression and these sorts of things. Keeps you kind of strong in a way, mentally and emotionally strong. Now with Mercury in Libra here, influence, this looks like Adam and Eve. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's what it's representing, right? I do see here that you are prone, your nature is quite prone to influence from, I'm feeling, well, I guess it's the snake here, but I'm feeling like a masculine energy, okay? You lean more towards the masculine, but I'm also seeing that you are influenced by the masculine energies around you in a way that may not be, Spirit's wanting you to understand that what fits for them may not fit for you. Everyone's got a different life, a different personality, and it's not a one size fits all type of thing. So the advice that works for them may not be the advice that works for you. The belief systems that work for them may not be the ones that work for you. So just be careful as far as you feel quite open-minded, quite receptive to other people's guidance or input and that sort of thing. But Spirit's wanting you to be a little bit more guarded and closed off when it comes to that. Or at least don't fall for the sort of one size fits all. This advice worked for them, so it's going to work for me. This is what I should believe because that's what they believe. Just be wary of that, especially in your romantic partnerships, okay? There could have been a tendency in the past to kind of completely change yourself and your beliefs and your values because of the influence of your partner. Spirit's wanting you to get to a place where you can be with someone who has different beliefs and values from you and still keep your own beliefs and values. Not feel like you have to change or adapt them or be influenced by them unless you truly, truly, want to be and you feel your mind has changed. But it doesn't have to happen that way. There's lots of people that are married or in relationships that don't hold necessarily the same beliefs. And it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. It's the commitment, it's the partnership, it's the idea of acceptance really that matters. So anyways, just something to keep in mind. Let's look at the nurture row of cards. We have Moon in Cancer. This says friendship. Oh, what a beautiful card. Four of Cups. This is Seven of Pentacles. Wow. And then we have the World. So this is interesting because the bottom row of cards, which is how you've adapted or changed because of your upbringing, is purely feminine energies. In the top row, it's all masculine. So, due to your upbringing, due to your life circumstances, due to the way that you were raised, you were taught to lean more into your feminine energy, even though naturally you have a more masculine energy to you. Kind of like how kids back in the 70s who were born left-handed, their parents would spank them every time they caught them using their left hand to make them use their right hand. Because back in the 70s, people were worried that if you were left-handed, that I don't know what they thought, that you'd grow up to be a psychopath or something, I think is what they said. So my dad was actually one of them. He was born left-handed and his parents were freaked out. So they just slapped him on his left hand every time he used it. And so now he uses his right hand. I was born left-handed, but I was born in the 90s. So no one cared. But it's kind of the same thing. It's like you were born, your nature is this more masculine way of presenting. I'm not saying that to say you were meant to be a man, if you're a woman, not at all. It's just maybe you were kind of like a tomboy or maybe in your inherent nature, you're supposed to be, the one with the big career or, travel experiences or yada, yada, yada. But you ended up, if you're female, maybe you ended up getting married right out of high school because you were leaning into that more feminine energy. This is how my parents raised me. Women don't go off to college. Women don't get jobs. Women stay at home with the babies. And I'll marry a guy that has a successful career and lean into that. Kind of feels like something like that. So the masculine energy is a part of your nature, but due to the way you were raised, it's almost like you were told to lean more into that feminine. And it feels like Yeah, I think Spirit's just wanting you to actually balance these out. It'd be nice if there was a nice equal balance because you don't want to be all masculine, but you also don't want to be all feminine. You want to be that equal balance of yin and yang. And it's definitely time to get this King of Swords back onto his throne, okay? Because, yeah, he's a long forgotten here. It's time to use that communication, set those boundaries, to lay down the law like this. You have this strict side to you, this part of you that can be really strict. It can be like, nope, these are the rules. We're going to follow them. I'm going to follow through with this. This is the law or whatever. That's kind of been discarded, in a sense. I do also see here that friendship, your friendship group and your friends, that was a huge part of shaping you as an individual, who you became as you got older. It feels like it was the most nurturing aspect of your life growing up, more so than your parents or your siblings, or some of these really, really close friendships that you had in elementary or high school, or maybe college for some of you, had a huge effect on who you were. And these friendships actually were really good because they helped you tap into that more nurturing and feminine side to yourself that I think when you were a lot younger, you didn't have any contact or knowing of. Some of you who are, female or girls, women, I could see you like in grade school, wishing you were a boy or being like a tomboy. And then as you got older and you made friends with some other girls, they helped you tap into this more feminine side of yourself. So that was important, because I think tapping into your femininity made you better or is going to make you better as a future parent if you don't have kids yet. If you do have kids, it made you a better parent. So that was really healthy. That was really good. Spirit's also wanting you to, I feel like you don't have a lot of these close friendships anymore. Maybe some of them were lost or ended or people moved away, right? But Spirit's actually really wanting you to reach back out and connect with the ones that you genuinely miss, make time for them, go on lunch dates, go on trips together, maintain those friendships, because I see it's a really important part of your development, the nurturing aspect of you. Especially when you surround yourself with people that you really respect and love, that make you smile and laugh, that aren't trying to shape you as a person or push their ideologies on you. That's incredibly important, because their laughter, their joy, and their love, their presence, just naturally helps build up your confidence and helps you grow into who you are and who you want to be. But if you have friends who are real pushy or real kind of like, well, this is what I believe and you should believe this and that, it becomes difficult for you, especially because of this influence energy that you have, this tendency to, when I do love someone or care about someone, maybe I allow them to influence me a little bit too much, okay? But I do feel like there's some old friendships that you could reconnect, get back in touch with, or if not, put yourself back out there, whatever it takes. Talk to some coworkers, find some cool Facebook groups, whatever it is. I do see here as well that through your nurturing and your upbringing, you did learn how to grow things. This feels similar. These two cards feel similar, but one's masculine. This is your nature, and one's feminine. This is through your nurturing. This one's a little bit more passive, okay? These are kind of like two aspects of yourself. So the knight plants the seeds, plants the crops, and then the woman here, she waits for the crops to grow and for the fruits to get ripe enough to pick. Okay, so his job is a little bit more like active, still slow paced, but it's like he's doing some physical work. He's laying out the plans and he's figuring out where each seed's going to get planted and what to do with the soil. Whereas her job is more like sitting and waiting. He kind of feels a little bit bored, a little bit, what do I do now? Kind of like the control was really all in kind of his hands, right? She's just waiting for it to grow at this point. So I do feel that through your nurturing, it could just been like the culture that you were raised in, or, who knows, but you kind of shut off that masculine part of yourself and you relinquished control in a lot of areas of your life where you should still be taking on that knightly role of, you know what, I'm not going to wait for them to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm not going to wait for my spouse to do it. I'm going to go out and plant the seeds. I want to draw up the maps and figure out how I want this to work. That's important for you to feel like a planner, to feel like an accomplisher of something, and to not feel like you just watch other people accomplish or get the ball rolling on things and then you just catch up to them later. Okay, because we also have this card, the World. Look how beautiful this is. This is a card of achievement. Okay, This is the final card in the major arcana. Achievement, freedom, such a beautiful card. And again, very opposite to the card above it, your nature, the King of Swords. We have the World here. So I do feel that through your upbringing, there was this, you had a big idea of achievement, what achievement meant in the world, how important it was, how do you achieve, what does success really mean? And I think you saw a lot of other people in your life achieving success, accomplishing big things. And you felt like you lacked that experience in your life. You didn't get to do it. But also at the same time, because it's almost like your standards for achievement are just so high up here. Like, oh, you've got to travel the world and invent a magazine in order to say that you're accomplished and you've achieved something, okay? And this is based on you comparing your life to kind of some other people that you know, whether they be old colleagues or friends or certain family members. So it's through your nurturing, through this external influence of watching other people achieve quote unquote success, okay? Instead of that becoming like really inspiring to you, it became a hindrance in a sense, actually, watching this go on around you, because it made you feel like, wow, the bar is set like super, super high. It made you feel like, I don't like using this word, but I feel like this is the word you used in your own head. Like, wow, I'm such a loser. Like, what have I done in my life? And that feeling of I'm such a loser, I haven't accomplished anything. If I go out and try to achieve, I'll just fail. That is down here in the nurture set of cards, meaning that that's not a natural part of your way of thinking or who you are as a person. That is a byproduct of the environment that you were raised in. And even nowadays, with our social media type of environment, comparisons, oh my gosh, I mean, they go on all day long, right? So this is how that comparison thing has affected you. It's kind of frozen you still. You are someone who can achieve, because at your core, you are extremely patient and steady. You're good at planning, and you're also very good with your logical thinking and with your masculine energy and with communicating what needs to be done, writing down what needs to be done, laying down the law. And on top of that, you're an optimist. You're very good at kind of moving with the ebbs and flows of life, not really letting anything get you down. That's who you are at your core. That's your nature. That's what spirit wants you to get back into. Now, through your nurturing, through your environment, you definitely got more familiar with your feminine side, your feminine energy, and you tapped into your emotions a little more, your more empathetic side because of these friendships that you've created. But this other stuff, it's got to go. You've got to heal this, okay? Don't compare yourself to anyone else. And you know what? If you are capable of planting the seeds, plant them yourself. You know that's what you want to do. You enjoy that at your core. You like taking the more action-oriented role and not this passive role. Or heck, you can do both if you want, okay? But don't give away your power anymore. Don't let other people lead you so much. All right, let's look at the last couple cards. We have Aquarius. I said I was feeling Aquarius energy. Comment below if you're Aquarius, sun, moon, or rising. Goes really, really well with this little king card. Okay, and then we have one of these cards. Now, the top phrase is positive, and it represents your nature. The bottom phrase is more negative, and it represents how this positive phrase has kind of been flipped into something else due to your nurture, how you were raised. Okay, let's read the positive first. This is a healing anger card. It says, I love myself unconditionally. I accept both my strengths and my flaws. Even though I love myself just as I am, I accept the parts of myself that need to change and grow. Beautiful. Positive. So this sort of mantra is what you were kind of born with inherently. This idea that I'm unconditionally loving towards myself, I accept strengths and flaws, and I'm also excited to accept the parts of myself that I need to change and grow and develop, okay? So wanting that growth, wanting to know, kind of like the Virgo energy from the die, Virgo wants to find what's wrong and fix it and adjust it. So kind of having that same attitude towards yourself, not in a shameful or guilt type way, but like a reflective way. Well, let me analyze and see what parts of myself I need to adjust or change or grow or heal, and being optimistic about that. Okay, through your nurturing, through your upbringing, through life, society, whatever, that phrase has been turned into, I frequently find fault in myself. I'm not trying hard enough. Wow. I don't read these cards before before I do the reading, but that goes so well with this card that we talked about. So you came into this world being okay and happy with your strengths and your flaws, and actually being excited to discover more about your flaws in this lifetime so that you could heal them, change them, grow them, but not over a sense of shame, but from a standpoint of pure unconditional love for yourself. And instead, I feel like through not only comparison with others, comparison with the world, and your masculine energy being kind of pushed away into the background, shoved aside, hidden. Those two things have brought you to this subconscious place of, I'm always just finding fault in myself. I'm not trying hard enough. I'm ashamed of myself. I'm weak. I'm a loser. That sort of thinking, that's not part of who you are as a person. That's not part of your nature. That way of thinking is purely because of the environment you were raised in. If you were raised on, I don't know, some sort of tropical island out in the middle of nowhere with nothing but mom, dad, and siblings, you wouldn't be thinking that way. And yeah, maybe you didn't create some magazine or travel the world or become the CEO of a company, but I bet you were happy. I bet you loved yourself. So it's time to get back to that place. It's time to evaluate, like, what purpose do these sorts of thoughts really serve me? Do I believe that if I think this, it will help push me to the next level? If I criticize myself and beat myself down and remind myself that I'm nothing, that I'll feel so awful, so bad that it will just give me that motivation, that push to try and become something better? Is that why I'm allowing these thoughts in my headspace? Or, what is it? It's time for you to let go of that if you can. Heal it. Get back to this place of strength. Lean back into your masculine energy, whatever that means to you. And get out of this place of comparison and start recognizing yourself for the strengths that you do have. Okay. Uplifting yourself for that. Not doing it in comparison with other people. Okay. Recognize your uniqueness. That's what this Aquarius energy is all about. Aquarius is very progressive. It's very forward thinking. It thinks about the future. It doesn't get stuck in the past, kind of like South Node energy in the die. Aquarius is opposite of that. Usually people with a lot of Aquarius in their chart, you don't see them thinking or talking about the past, even the past in their own lives very often. They don't like to dwell on it, especially if it's like stuff that wasn't very enjoyable. They leave it in the past. They move forward like they're done. And they're just kind of always looking ahead, emotionally detaching from the past and looking ahead. What's in the future? What am I progressing towards? How can I enjoy just the present moment, right? That's the kind of energy that you need to tap into during this time. And it could be strongly in your chart as well, especially with the innovation card. A lot of you are meant to go in some sort of scientific career or industry, or biology would even be scientific. Like for some of you, I'm seeing like working with plants, with animals. Others of you working with chemistry and physics, and something kind of scientific or earthly. And then for others of you, it's supposed to be more something with communication or with writing or with speaking, okay? But yeah, all that lines up with that Aquarius energy. Also with the Aquarius energy, that's just reinforcing, once again, the idea that friendships for you, having a friendship group for people in your life is really, really important for your confidence, your drive, your energy. Okay, so you reach out to those old friends. Get back in touch with people. Make your friendships a priority. Make those little friendship dates and outings a priority. You need that. Your kids or your spouse or your parents, siblings, they can't be everything for you. You can't be everything for you. You really need those friendship connections. Okay, so if you take away anything from this message, take away that, because I know that's going to help get the ball rolling on everything else. Send out that text, send out that invite, say yes to the event, okay? And get back in touch with your nature, the roots of who you are, because you are fabulous, okay? Strengths, weaknesses, all of it. All right, I love you. I want to thank you so much for coming to this reading, letting me take a peek into your soul and get to know you a little bit better and help you know yourself a little better. I would love it if you left me a comment down below about anything at all. I'm up for a good chat, and I will see you all in next week's Pick a Card reading. Bye, my love. Hey, Pile 5, welcome to your reading. I can't wait to look at your nature versus your nurture, what's inherent to you and who you are versus what was created of you due to your environment and how you were raised. So let's take a start by rolling the die. Oh, wow. Okay, that die fell right off the table, but it landed on the third house. So we have Sun in Scorpio in the third house. Okay, so the Sun is our energy, our vitality. It's our ego. It's a huge part of our identity. And Scorpio is very intense. It's very powerful. It's very investigative. It likes to do things kind of behind the scenes, kind of manipulate and pull things behind the scenes in its favor. It likes to uncover secrets. It likes to, it's very guarded, protected. It's a very complex sign. It's probably the best word I can use to describe Scorpio energy. And the third house is all about siblings, short travels, like not actual moves, but like vacations and things like that. It's also about our younger years of learning, elementary school, high school, and then these sort of like short types of learning we do, like maybe you go on a deep dive into a particular subject online for months until you master it, like tarot or astrology, or maybe you take a little get a certificate in something, like a 3-month sort of course. It also rules communication as well. So all of these things could be a part of your nature. Part of me is actually, that was the case for most of the piles, but I'm almost feeling like these energies I'm touching on are things that are coming to a head in your life right now at the moment. All right. And so we'll see what how Spirit wants to guide you through that by talking about your nature versus your nurture. So some of you could be in some pretty complicated relationship situations, maybe hiding certain things, maybe uncovering secrets, maybe in disagreements. Third house also represents community. So maybe you're very entangled and enmeshed with your community. Maybe you've got some things on the line. That's kind of the vibe that I'm feeling from all of this, but we'll see as we get into the rest of the cards. So let's take a look at the card topper you all gravitated towards. And this woman looks like she's down by the river. I see some beautiful butterflies. Let's see what it says on the back. Preparation. Luck comes most often to the person and the place where preparation, opportunity, and skill meet. Interesting. So Spirit's wanting you to prep yourself for something. Don't wait for a lucky break, because like the card says, your chances of a lucky break, of coming upon luck, increase if you've done the preparation you need in order to get there. It's kind of like when I've read about how to manifest and, The Secret. Do you guys remember those books? A big aspect to, I would say the most important aspect actually, to being able to manifest is not only imagine what it is you want, but then start taking action to get closer to that. Put everything in motion. It's good to have a vision, to imagine what it is you're going after, but then you can't just sit down every day and just imagine. It's like you've got to start getting inventive and creative and preparing for the moment that you're going to eventually reach. And so there's some things behind the scenes I feel like that Spirit's wanting you to do more preparation for. And I feel like each and every one of you know what that is for you, because it's going to be different. For some of you, it's a really positive thing that you need to get prepared for. For others, it's something more difficult, like divorce or lawsuit or And I'm saying that to those who are already aware that that's what's going on, custody battles, things like that. For others of you, though, it's more positive, like a business idea or a certain amount of money that you want to have saved up by the end of the year, or certain debts that you want to have paid off, or a house you want to purchase, or a certain weight you want to reach before your wedding, things like that. All right, so let's get into the tarot cards. Now I've got a row here that represents your nature and a row underneath that represents aspects that were evolved out of your nurturing. But actually an extra card wanted to come out for you all that doesn't fit into either group. So I was like, okay, Spirit, if you want it there, we will take a look. And so let's start actually with this top card. Okay, we have 6 of Wands. Beautiful card. This card actually represents victory. So for those of you who are prepping for something, waiting for a lucky break, I would say that's a pretty good sign for that card to come out. But yeah, this card is about feeling victorious, being praised and recognized for your efforts, like really having people like surround you and applaud you for whatever it is that you've done. But just that feeling of like, whew, I'm victorious, like I did it, okay? So we'll see how that ties into the aspects of your nature versus your nurture. So let's start with the nature row. We have Mercury in Taurus. It says resistance. Then we have 4 of Swords, the Knight of Wands, and King of Pentacles. So the top row has a lot of masculine energy, okay? So we're all made up of feminine and masculine energy. It feels like within your nature, there's more masculine energy that is present, okay? Masculine energy is much more assertive. It wants to assert itself upon the world, take an active role in the world, change something, progress something, create something, invent something, like really put itself out there. Take action, make the rules. Feminine energy is much more still and receptive. It wants to just wait and receive. It wants to nurture what is under its care. It wants to help things grow. It wants to pour life into the environment around it. But it's much more sort of gentle. So at your core, within your nature, through what you inherited, your DNA, yada, yada, you have a little bit more of this masculine energy present. Now, I don't know how that's changed through your nurturing, but this is what's a part of your nature, what's natural to you. I also see with the Mercury and Taurus that you are naturally, like stubbornness is a part of your nature. But this is a good thing. I feel like maybe this gets thrown in your face a lot. Oh, you're so stubborn. But I'm seeing it as a positive thing because at your core, you're someone who just knows what your values are. And yeah, you are supposed to be stubborn when it comes to your values. Things like honesty and integrity and authenticity. It's good that you're the type of person that's like, I'm not going to budge for you on that. Like, I'm not going to lie. I don't care if it costs me my job, just using it as an example. Within your nature, you're that type of person that, like, if your boss was like, okay, look, like, you're going to have to lie about this, or, you're going to have to lose your job. You're the type of person that even if you had 2 kids at home and a bunch of bills to pay, you would just be like, I'm sorry, but I'm not doing it. I'm not going to lie. Like, go ahead and fire me if that's what you want, but I'm not going to lie. Okay. So yeah, you have this stubbornness within you for sure. You know what you want, you know what your values are, and you're not willing to budge on the things that feel really important to you. Now, I also see that you have this natural tendency within your nature to kind of isolate yourself and overdo it mentally a little bit. Like, I'm feeling from this card like a lot of like an out of whack sleep schedule. I think you're also naturally a little bit nocturnal, okay? And you have this sort of reclusive nature to you as well. For as much as you do want to be recognized and victorious, you have this part of you that just kind of is like, oh, I just want to hide away and rest and like disconnect from the world for a bit. And that's important for you to be able to replenish your energy in that way. And I also see here with the Knight of Wands that you're quite creative and quite adventurous, okay? You do like to explore new things, even if it's just new learning experiences. Because for some of you with this introverted energy, it's not that this adventurous side comes out in like traveling the world. This adventurous side to you may come out in like researching and Googling stuff online and like reading 1,000 books in the comfort of your home. But you're mentally kind of traveling, to wherever those books take you, and, using that adventurous energy in a more internal way. So that could be the case for you. And then we have the King of Pentacles. This is a very grounded king that's very focused on stability and abundance and pleasure. Okay, he likes good food. He likes good sex and affection. He likes to have his bank full of cash and money. And he really likes to enjoy the fruits of his labor. That's what he looks forward to, is that good glass of wine at the end of the day and that nice big clawfoot tub that you can take his bubble bath in. And so there's a part of you inherent to your nature that does enjoy pleasure and likes working hard to reach that level of pleasure and enjoyment, and is quite grounded and wants stability as well. So that's another part of your nature. Now let's take a look at anything that has shifted due to the way you were nurtured and raised. Oh, wow, you guys. Look at this card. It is Sun in Scorpio, which is what came up on the die. That's incredible. This card says endurance. Ooh. All right, we have 10 of Wands. Queen of Pentacles. Interesting, because we had King of Pentacles in the top row. And 7 of Swords. All right, so I'm actually going to flip some of these around. Interesting. Okay, so first off, I see that because of the way that you were, something about your upbringing, the way that you were raised, put this pressure on you to have this insane amount of stamina and endurance in life. So naturally, okay, if we were to take you out of the environment that you were raised in, naturally you are a stubborn person, stubborn for the right reasons, that needs to disconnect from the world and needs kind of like hideout time to themselves to relax and mentally explore and, read books and study things and go on little mini adventures, whatever that is to you. And naturally, you are someone who does get overwhelmed when you're in a very stimulating environment, an environment with a lot of different people and a lot of different things going on. It doesn't feel good for your energy because your energy is very concentrated. That's the best way to put it. It's concentrated, it's very tight and contained. So this is going to sound so weird, but I'm trying to explain it the way they're showing it to me. So where other people's energy might be like this, and it's the same amount, okay, but it's just not as compressed as yours. Okay, so everything's kind of pulled out and a little bit lighter and a little bit larger. Because of that weight, it can handle the distribution of energies coming in, okay? It can sustain it a little better, right? Maybe there's a bump over here, but because it's over here in reference to the entire thing, that's really not much. It's like, oh, it's just one little bump on the energy field, but it's spread out this wide, so not much. Whereas yours is very potent and condensed like this, your energy field. So when that one little thing comes to bump it, it's like the whole thing feels it. Your whole ball of energy feels it. And that's just part of your nature. It's natural to who you are. And so because of that, you can't be in a lot of craziness for a long period of time without it being incredibly overwhelming and you needing to just go home and disconnect and recharge. Oh, 1 second, my battery. But it feels like due to the way you were raised, I don't know if you have parents who were very high achievers, or it could just be the world that you kind of saw achieving great things. There was this intense pressure that like, well, I've got to have more endurance. I've got to have more stamina. I've got to keep pushing forward. And so you've kind of taken on a lot. You've kind of put yourself in the position of being someone that can do it all and take it all. And I'll do that for you. And then I'll plan that party for you. And oh yeah, boss, you need that. And oh yeah, you need help with this. And you're ignoring the part of your nature that's like, hey, wait, we need a break. Okay. And that's not actually natural for you to be that type of person that just like overextends themselves and volunteers to do things that are outside the realm of their responsibility, okay? At your core, in your nature, you want to be someone who takes care of themselves and their own responsibilities and gives themselves time to recharge when needed, regardless if other people need to recharge as often as them. In your nature, at your core, you're someone who listens to your needs. And it is true, you do need to recharge more than others. In fact, for most of you, it would probably be good to have a job or a career where you can work from home, or where you work in like a small office, like for a small company, something without a lot of chaos, without a lot of extra events and things on the weekends, because you need to be able to recharge in your own space. I think you actually would do great working from home, because since you're at home in a quiet house, maybe the spouse is at work and the kids are at daycare or school, work almost doesn't even feel like a job for you at that point, because it's like your energy is safely contained at home in a controlled environment. So that's why I'm saying I think that would really be good for you guys. But a lot of you put this pressure on yourself to like overachieve and yeah, have this insane amount of energy and ignore your own needs, okay, for the sake of proving that you can do it all. And Spirit's like, look, that's not part of your nature. There are other people who have like I said, your energy like this, compressed versus others. Someone whose energy is spread out and stretched like this naturally all the time. Now, this sounds so crazy, okay? I'm literally telling you what I'm hearing from Spirit. Never heard this before. It doesn't make sense. I'm going to tell you how I'm hearing it from them. Some people who have energy fields that are more spread out like this, they actually can take on more. They have more stamina, more endurance for activities that involve a lot of people or a lot of stimulation, all right? Because the energy field's a little bit wider. It can hold a little bit more. Your energy field is like this, okay? That's just a part of who you are. And so Spirit's like, it's silly of you to compare or expect that you don't need to recharge, or to convince yourself that you don't need to recharge more often than other people, because you do. Okay, so Spirit's really wanting you to accept that part of yourself. That's going to be important. And stop spreading yourself so thin. Because what ends up happening is sometimes you overload yourself mentally with all this stuff, or you let yourself get pulled into projects or things with other people that your heart's only halfway in to begin with. And then you end up trying to find ways to like self-sabotage or sneak out of the situation. It's like, oh crap, I signed up for it. But now it's the day of and I don't want to go. But now I'm going to feel bad for canceling. So, oh, I know. I'm going to text them and tell them that like I've got the flu and I can't make it, right? So you come up with these sort of, because you don't want to hurt people's feelings. So you try and, come up with some way to sneak out of it. Spirit's like, will you just stop signing yourself up for stuff? Okay. Get to know yourself, not get to know yourself. Remember who you are. Stop ignoring who you are. It's fine that you want to, be at home a little bit more, but just stop overcommitting, because then you get real stressed out. And then on top of it, you also beat yourself up for it. You beat yourself up for not having more stamina, not having more energy, not being able to do it all. You do so much. You do enough. You are enough. I feel like that's a big thing that you guys need to hear. Did you know that? You are enough, okay? You can let all of that go. You don't have to prove yourself to anyone or anything. You're enough. Okay, we also have the Queen of Pentacles underneath the King. So in your nature is this more masculine energy. In your nurture, how you've changed through your environment, is the Queen of Pentacles. Queen of Pentacles is very similar to the King, but she's not so much concerned with how are we going to make the money, what laws and rules are we going to create for our life, for the kingdom. She's more receptive. She's more like, you figure out how to make the money. I'll figure out how to spend the money, or you figure out what laws should be created and let me know and I'll make sure I follow them. So it's a much more receptive sort of energy. But this feels really nice, I'll be honest, because this doesn't feel like a negative thing to me. To me, it feels like naturally you have this more masculine King of Pentacles energy. And through the environment you were raised in, whatever it was, you were able to develop your more feminine side, which was this Queen of Pentacles energy. And now I feel like they're both in balance. You've got a good balance of these masculine and feminine energies within you. But both are very concerned with material security, finance, abundance. I mean, I definitely feel like, especially with all this Scorpio energy, you guys, I think most of you already are really successful. Some of you may not be there yet. Maybe you're a little bit younger, but for the most part, you guys feel very successful, very high achieving. Spirit's wanting you to just be a little bit more lenient with yourself, a little bit more forgiving, and to start saying no to some things and to stop signing yourself up for so much. It's going to help you a lot, okay? But I do see with that top card that there is some sort of victory coming up for you, something that you're going to be recognized for, applauded for, something you're going to feel good about yourself for, but definitely start prepping for that. Don't just dream about, the award that you want to achieve one day. Start prepping for, okay, what can I do now to help get me to that award type thing. Okay, let's look at the last couple cards. We have Saturn. Saturn rules Capricorn and Scorpio. It's very structured, very disciplined, also very high achieving. Yeah, it feels like for you guys aren't, I almost feel like it's interesting. You guys feel like the type that probably didn't make straight A's in grade school and high school. In fact, some of you may have ADHD or dyslexia. It feels like you think a little bit uniquely. And so because most like Western societies, the schooling system is structured for people who think more inside the box, I guess, that was a huge aspect of the nurture part that shaped who you are. It's like you almost realized from a young age that, you know what, if I want to be successful, I'm going to have to do it my own way. Or if I can't shine in the academics, then I'm going to have to shine in the entrepreneurial abilities or this particular talent. It was like this, like overcompensating, you pinpointed your weaknesses, and instead of trying to strengthen the weaknesses, you were like, no, that's just a weakness and it's always going to be there. But I've got this strength over here that's already here. Let me see what I can do with this to accomplish what I want. So you have this ingenious way of thinking that yeah, it's really, really incredible. It's really blessed you in life, because if you would have been raised in a different type of society, like a society that actually catered to people with ADHD and dyslexia in terms of the schooling system, I don't see that it would have sparked this ingenuity of thinking, this feeling of, I've got to make up for what I'm lacking. So I better get the ball rolling and see what I want to do with this. It was, yeah, it was recognizing that you were unique and didn't quite fit the mold, especially when it came to learning and the structures of society, that brings you your success later in life. Okay, so if you're still young and working through that and maybe having a hard time in college or whatever it is, don't worry, okay, because those struggles in your learning years are exactly what lead you to your inspiration later in life. Okay, don't focus on fixing the weaknesses. Focus on enhancing the natural talents that you already have. That's going to be the key to your success. Okay, let's look at the last card here. So the first side shows a natural phrase, a phrase that came naturally to you when you were born, when your soul was created. And the other side has a negative phrase that was developed over time through your environment, the way that you were nurtured. So let's read the positive one first. This is a healing anger card. It says, inspired. It's interesting that I use that word. Inspired, I go after my bliss, but I am also open to the emotional reaction of others. So inspired, I go after my bliss, what I want, but I'm also open to the emotional reactions of others. Perhaps like knowing that not everyone's going to like what I'm wanting to do, what I'm excited and inspired about. But that's fine. I can handle it. I'm open to hear what they have to say, like being more okay with that. So that's how you were born naturally, was to be that type of person that, it's, it kind of makes me think of like the type of kid that, whose parents say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And, maybe it's a 4-year-old little girl and she's like, I want to be a ballerina and a teacher. Oh, and a firefighter and a singer, and the parents are thinking, I don't think that's possible. Like you gotta narrow it down to one. And then the little girl's like, nope, it's possible. I'm going to do it. So the little girl realizes like her parents aren't receptive to that. They're not having a positive emotional reaction to the fact that she thinks she can be all 4 of these things. But she doesn't mind. And she'll keep telling them every time they ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? She'll keep naming off all 4. So that's kind of how you were naturally born, not allowing anyone else's emotional reaction to what you chose to do to get in the way of what was inspiring you. Like it didn't matter, But as you've gotten older, due to the way you were raised, it says, if I'm not right, I lose control. If I'm not right, I lose control. So that means that if someone is having an emotional reaction to us, or telling us like, that's not right. I think you're wrong. That's not going to work out. That stirs up a lot in you because you suddenly feel like, I can't have them thinking that I'm wrong. I have to prove to them that I'm right. Or how dare they think that I'm wrong? I know what it is I'm talking about. And it causes you to kind of lose control, maybe lose your temper, maybe feel overwhelmed, maybe feel upset. And it could either push you in one of two directions. Either you're the type to constantly confront that, and maybe you have a lot of arguments and disagreements in the workplace or in your home life, or you become the type of person to just shut off your inspiration completely or keep a lot of secrets, okay, not share hardly anything because you can't handle the potential of the negative feedback, the judgment, the harsh opinions that you could receive on it, okay? So Spirit's really wanting you to let go of that. Get back to who you are inherently at your core in your nature. In your nature, remember, you're stubborn. We've got resistance here. Mercury in Taurus. But Taurus is very calm, cool, and collected. You know, it won't budge, but it's unbothered, right? That's who you are at your core in your nature. Stubborn, yes, but unbothered and calm, cool, and collected. All right. So any sort of like temper, okay, if that's something you've been dealing and struggling with, just know that's not a part of your nature and who you are. That is part of this fragility in your ego that happened due to your upbringing. Okay. And if something isn't a part of our nature, well, that's good because it means that we can actually heal it. We can get rid of it. It's not a part of, we don't have to claim that as a part of our identity. If you've been claiming, you know, a temper or a fragile ego is just a part of who you are, take this reading as a cue that no, it's not. That is something that happened to you through nurture, through your environment, which means it's something you can undo and work through. In your nature, you're not like that. You're very chill and unbothered. And since you're chill and unbothered, you openly, you know, share things with others. You don't try to like hide anything unnecessarily. You certainly don't hide anything because you're worried what they might say, because you're not worried what they might say. You don't care. So you'll share, you'll be open to what they have to say, you know, but you have no problem with them thinking that you're wrong about it, you know, because you're confident in your decision and your viewpoint. Either that, or you're also okay with being wrong sometimes. So you don't mind. If they do think that you're wrong, you want to know why. You want to hear them out and, you know, kind of reevaluate things and being open to that. So for you, this is really going to be about healing that sun, that ego, okay? That pressure you put on yourself to succeed, to have that stamina, that constant endurance, and how that has become kind of agitating for you over time, okay? It's time to let that go and move towards a more peaceful way of existing. It's also just as successful, if not more so, especially in your interpersonal relationships, okay? So hold on to that stubbornness for your values, but let go of the anger and the need to control and to be right. That's not a part of who you are. Do not let that define you, okay? All right, I'm going to leave you guys here, but I want to thank you so much for coming. I would love it if you left me a comment to read later on today, and I look forward to seeing you in next week's Pick a Card reading. Bye, my love.